This is Wuju, a quiet student reading about cats. Ignoring the commotion, he admits his deep hatred for school. A timid personality and weak body keep him on the sidelines. Making friends feels utterly impossible for him. Romance and close friendships seem like a distant dream. He finds comfort in his book, wishing people were as harmless as animals. But then a pair of legs dangles from the locker above. A mysterious figure with a tail looks down, having found him. Wuju's mind goes completely blank from the shock. On the locker sits a girl with cat ears staring right at him. She smirks, noticing his book on the liquid cat theory. With a soft thud, she lands right before our boy. Leaning in close, she finds his stunned reaction strange. His mind races, questioning if this is a dream or just cosplay. And in that instant, the floor beneath him shatters completely. A girl with pink hair finally corners Wuju on the rooftop, greeting him with a deceptively sweet smile, but he stammers about seeing someone who is not there. A sudden dawning horror fills his eyes as he insists he saw a girl just moments before. She grabs his face, accusing him of lying and needing punishment. With a slam, the scene shifts inside a locker room, where she presents her foot asking for his opinion, forcing Wuju to smell it in front of her friends, and she questions his strange enjoyment of the supposed punishment. Because our boy nervously admits he likes the scent, which brings a sinister smirk to her lips. Her friends erupt in laughter at his bizarre confession, prompting her to take the humiliation a step further, as she offers him the sock like a twisted prize. This bullies mock his blushing face, calling him creepy, questioning his manhood as he kneels before them. Then the topic shifts to his wife, Beak Rabin, and a girl leans in, intrigued by their living arrangement. Her eyes fixate on him, demanding the truth. Wuju stammers, completely flustered by the attention. Across the room, their real target sits alone. This very same Beak Rabin they were just discussing. He tries to clarify, but the girl's teasing escalates. Just then, Beak Rabin rises from her desk, drawing the attention of the entire group. She walks over and confirms it. They live together, her gaze cold as she asks why they care. This pink-haired girl, Hayagi, just finds it funny. But Beak Rabin tells her to mind her own business. Rabin confronts the bully, telling her to stop picking on people. His accusation that she looks pathetic leaves her absolutely furious. Suddenly, a blonde girl slaps the bully across the face, then grabs Rabin's hand, telling him it is time to go, and together they flee down the school hallway. This other students are left completely stunned by the intervention. Later, they find a quiet place away from prying eyes, hiding out in the school's dark equipment room, where she awkwardly thanks Rabin for stepping in, but clarifies she just did not want to look like an idiot because of him, causing a flustered Rabin to immediately apologize. She reveals they were childhood friends, questioning why he is so timid, though he now feels a massive social gap between them. Still, she advises him to stop letting people push him around, worried that if this continues, it will become a problem for her too. A black cat suddenly leaps onto Rabin, startling Wuju, who calls out her name in alarm. In the chaos, she stumbles backward with a crash, knocking Wuju to the ground right underneath her. They land in a compromising position, far too close for comfort, and his eyes catch a familiar green necklace glowing softly. He instantly recognizes the pendant from their childhood. A memory surfaces of him giving it to her long ago. She had been hesitant, knowing it was from his mother, but he insisted, calling her just as precious to him. Back in the present, Rabin snaps him out of his daze, completely oblivious to their awkward arrangement on the floor, while our boy is practically overheating from the proximity. At that moment, the black cat that started it all reappears, landing right on Rabin and making her shriek once more. A pair of chopsticks suddenly snaps in two. In the window, a cat appears with a prize in its mouth. This creature lets out a meow, revealing a green pendant. Beak Rabin panics, realizing her necklace is gone. Her eyes lock onto the feline thief making its escape. She desperately explains to Wuju what just happened. Overwhelmed, she does not know what to do next, but a sudden resolve flashes across Wuju's face. He turns his gaze toward the open window. Spotting the cat on the roof, he calls it a thief. Without a second thought, our boy leaps into action, chasing the animal across the school rooftop. A startled girl ahead tells him to get out of the way as the cat and Wuju race right toward her. This tiny thief darts between her legs, causing a shriek of surprise. Wuju rushes down the hall, bumping right into a girl. She shouts his name, completely shocked by his carelessness. With a furious look, she slips off her shoe and hurls it directly at his retreating back. This slipper soars through the air, a perfect shot. He turns, completely unaware of the incoming projectile, when a black cat suddenly snatches it from the air. Her jaw drops, unable to process what she just saw. This mysterious cat then leaps out a nearby window. Desperate to save it, Wuju lunges after the animal, throwing himself out of the building without a second thought. She watches in horror as he plummets towards the ground. His world blurs, the girl a distant speck above him, and he questions if this is how his life will end. His body tumbles helplessly through the empty sky. This strange cat creature screams at him for being an idiot. It warns him that as a human, he will not survive the fall. Holding a glowing artifact, the cat laments its hasty choice. By the power of the Magatama, the 12 Zodiac tournament is declared. On his chest, the creature uses the orb to restart the ancient contest. Utterly confused, he plummets while hearing about a tournament judge. His entire world turns sideways as the cat makes its final choice. Panicked, he hurtles toward a massive, glowing sigil on the floor. This glowing creature demands he accept the role of judge immediately. With no other option, our boy screams that he will be the judge. His consent is accepted, and now the rules must be explained. Elsewhere, a regal person in a dark hall senses the disturbance. Suddenly, Wuju stands before this mysterious individual utterly lost. In the vast chamber, the stranger looks down and begins to question him. This final question hangs in the air: what does he truly desire? Wuju reflects on his deepest desire, his answer forming in his mind. Suddenly, a familiar voice calls out his name, and a concerned student leans over him. He jolts awake, completely disoriented, accidentally crashing right into her, leaving them both dazed and confused. She explains he is in the nurse's office after falling. But the entire incident is a complete blank. This girl speculates his amnesia is from the shock, which leaves our boy completely speechless. She advises a hospital visit just in case, and he stumbles out into the school hallway. Her gaze follows him, a thoughtful look on her face as the sun sets over the school rooftops. Back at home, Wuju's head feels completely fuzzy. All he wants is to wash up and sleep off the strange day, but a familiar black cat is waiting on his bed. He points, accusing the creature of being a thief, but the cat claims the necklace was its own. This bizarre statement leaves Wuju completely baffled, and he stares in shock as he realizes the animal is talking. He tries to dismiss it as an aftereffect from his fall, but the cat demands he stop pretending, reminding him that he is now a judge and should not cause regret. This title means nothing to the confused Wuju, so the creature's face contorts with rage, demanding he remember. With a furious cry, it leaps forward to remind him by force. Meanwhile, Beak Rabin walks up the stairs outside, her thoughts filled with worry for Wuju's safety. A sudden, terrified scream echoes from inside the building. She whips around, instantly recognizing his voice in distress. A blonde girl hurries down an alley staircase, stopping at a basement door with some hesitation. She announces her arrival and bursts right in, stepping into what appears to be Wuju's home. Inside, she immediately demands to know what is happening, her eyes falling on Wuju and a mysterious cat-eared individual. This shocking sight leaves her completely speechless. While our boy looks equally stunned by her sudden intrusion, this cat-like person just looks on with a curious expression. When a piercing scream suddenly erupts from the building, it is the blonde girl letting out a terrified shriek, and Wuju panics, screaming right along with her. This cat person smirks, asking if he remembers her now, which sends the other girl fleeing in terror from the apartment. Left alone, Wuju just wants a moment to finally breathe. Wuju awakens in his room to find a cat-like stranger, who introduces herself as Nenah, eager to get acquainted. Our boy is completely flabbergasted by this sudden development. When a piercing scream suddenly echoes from the doorway, this girl from school bursts in, accusing him of bringing a stranger home. She points furiously at Wuju, who is frozen on the floor, completely unable to process the chaos unfolding around him. Her mother appears behind her, greeting the guest with a cheerful smile, leaving her daughter in a state of utter disbelief. This mother casually invites them all to join her for dinner, and as she heads out, her daughter desperately tries to stop her. Once they are gone, Nenah leans against Wuju's back with a sigh, startling him with a playful meow as she gets closer. But the girl from school peeks back in, her suspicions now confirmed. Wuju quickly stands to block her view of Nenah, who is now a cat again. This girl from school gives up, completely baffled by his actions. While Wuju desperately pleads with the creature to remain a cat, he quickly places the animal on a pillow, demanding it stay put. With an annoyed huff, the cat reluctantly obliges, leaving our boy completely speechless and overwhelmed. Collapsing on his bed, he learns something went wrong during their fall, and his mind drifts back to the 12 Zodiac tournament. This creature confirms the ancient contest has returned after 3,000 years. A sudden wave of exhaustion hits Wuju, the timeline sinking in. As he drifts off, the cat explains it had no choice but to choose him, placing all of its hope in him as the new judge. Wuju mutters in his sleep that none of this makes any sense. His dreams shifting to a serene figure under a glowing tree. This person gently tells a small creature that it is time to depart, a painful memory that leaves the black cat watching in shock. A memory plays of a regal person offering a choice to small creatures, and a black cat eagerly steps forward with other animals. But the offer comes with a solemn warning, revealing there are only 12 coveted spots available. These places must be earned through a grueling contest. And Wuju mutters in his sleep the word cat on his lips. He jolts awake in his sunlit room, wondering if the entire chaotic encounter was just a dream. Relieved, his thoughts turn to getting to school on time, but a haunting image of the furious girl from school flashes in his mind. He remembers her intimidating presence in the classroom, leaving him with a deep sense of dread about facing her again. With a heavy sigh, our boy forces himself out of bed and begins to get ready for the day ahead, only to spot the familiar black cat sitting calmly by the window. Wuju slumps over at his desk at school, while Nenah leaps from his apartment window, landing gracefully on a nearby rooftop. Her movements are swift across the building as she peeks into another person's apartment. Once inside, she casually looks for a change of clothes, raiding the closet without a moment's hesitation, and happily gets ready for her day. Back in class, a student is relieved a bully is absent, but overhears gossip about Beak Rabin's absence too, which makes his eyes widen in sudden alarm. A memory flashes of two girls in a tense confrontation, followed by a chaotic scene of students in distress, and he feels a pang of pity for the girl involved, jolting upright as a terrible thought crosses his mind. In a quiet classroom, a student with glasses enters the room, wondering if he is somehow responsible for a classmate's absence. Suddenly, the school bell rings out across the grounds, and he takes off running through the city streets, arriving at a door and knocking with frantic urgency. He asks for Rabin only to be told she already left for school, a terrible feeling growing as she will not answer his calls. He races up a flight of stairs, completely out of breath, searching desperately for any sign of her, but collapses in exhaustion, realizing she is nowhere to be found. Defeated, he slumps against a wall as someone approaches him, and he looks up to see a familiar, cat-like individual. It is Nenah, leaving him utterly shocked by her appearance. He questions her casual disguise, worried she will be discovered, but she just points to her hat, completely ignoring her visible tail. The student insists they must find Rabin immediately, but Nenah calmly notes the contest has already started for that girl. He grabs her in a panic, demanding to know what she means. A sinister smirk crosses her face. As she reveals the descent of the 12 Zodiacs has begun, suddenly a massive pillar of light erupts into the city sky, leaving the boy staring in utter disbelief and terror. Nenah grabs his hand, pulling him along as they race toward the light. She explains that the ritual is already underway, meaning 12 gods are now descending to run their contest. One has already possessed Rabin, a revelation that horrifies him. And he desperately asks what is going to happen next. Nenah lays out his first duty, make all 12 gods join the game, but he questions what will happen if he fails. Her answer is chilling: Rabin will be devoured by the god inside her. This student's face contorts in absolute terror, as Nenah shouts for him to hurry and catch her. They race across the school grounds at sunset, heading straight for a storage room door. He calls out for Rabin, cautiously stepping inside, and peers into the dark, cluttered space. Finding her huddled fearfully in a corner, she warns him not to come any closer, but he approaches anyway, asking what is wrong, when she suddenly screams for him to get back. A powerful shove sends him stumbling away, as she bolts with inhuman speed across a walkway. Nenah reveals she is not fully possessed yet, and they finally manage to corner her on the rooftop, where he desperately explains the Zodiac tournament can save her. This student looks back, completely stunned by her sudden appearance, when someone suddenly plummets from the sky above them. Staring up in horror, he watches the girl fall against the moonlit sky. Nenah's eyes glow, identifying the falling girl as the fourth of the 12, a member of the Zodiac known as the Rabbit. This student stares in utter confusion, unable to process the chaos, as the Rabbit girl seems to lose control, crying out in alarm. Her terrified scream echoes as she plummets through the air, and he screams her name in terror. It is Rabin. Rabin lands on a fence and sprints away across the rooftops, leaving the student speechless, questioning if that was really her. Powerless, he watches her disappear into the city skyline, a shadow falling over his face as his expression turns grim. Nenah casually explains Rabin has been possessed by the Rabbit, but he grabs her arm, desperately stammering that Rabin just fell. Nenah dismisses his concerns, saying there is no time to cry, but the student is horrified, shouting that someone just fell. He panics, yelling they are about to lose her, so Nenah grabs his hand and yanks him right off the roof. She lets out a wild laugh as they plummet through the air, hurtling down the side of the skyscraper together. With a smirk, she tells him not to be nervous. As a strange energy glows from their clasped hands, this boy is left completely stunned by the strange sensation. Their descent ending safely on the street below, she proudly explains she shared her power to save them. When another scream suddenly cuts through the night, his eyes snap upward to another person falling from the sky, this one with long hair and flailing limbs, who crashes ungracefully onto the pavement before them. This student stares in absolute shock at the fallen girl, as Nenah insists they must catch her before the possession is complete. A dangerous glint appears in her own cat-like eye. She decides it is time for a little warm-up, launching herself forward with blinding speed. While the possessed girl flips through the air to dodge, their glowing eyes lock in a fierce confrontation, igniting a chaotic aerial battle between the two. They race through the city streets in a blur of motion, until the Rabbit leaps high into the night sky, landing atop a street lamp just out of reach. Suddenly, a faint plea for help escapes her lips. It is Rabin's true self, begging for someone to stop her. This student watches in horror, realizing she is crying, and screams that the tournament is her only way back to normal. Nenah realizes the possession is accelerating as Rabin displays the Rabbit's incredible agility. A full possession is now imminent. This student connects this to animal instincts, his hand tightening with sudden resolve. He calls out to Nenah, trying to stop her, begging her to listen to his plan. But she simply turns away, ready for the chase. Meanwhile, Rabin leaps effortlessly across the rooftops, forcing Nenah to give chase at full speed. Her own animalistic traits begin to surface, claws digging into concrete as she scales the wall. Rabin glides through the air with eerie grace, her eyes glowing with the Zodiac's power, leaving Nenah struggling to keep up the pace. Rabin sprints across the open rooftop, desperately trying to escape, her glowing eyes scanning the area for a way out. And with an inhuman leap, she scales the building's high wall. Below, Nenah just flashes a predatory grin, enjoying the hunt. Meanwhile, the student frantically climbs an emergency staircase, recalling Nenah's lesson on predators versus prey. Knowing a carnivore cannot easily catch a herbivore in the open, their only option is a driven hunt to corner their target. A simple but exhausting strategy that now falls to him. He scrambles up the side of the school building, his one job being to lure Rabin all the way to the top. Gasping for air, he pushes past his physical limits, finally spotting his crying friend on the roof's edge. His expression hardens with grim determination, his glasses slipping as he pulls himself over the ledge. Pushing himself onward, he vows to save Rabin and stumbles onto a desolate rooftop high above the city. Utterly exhausted, he struggles to catch his breath, just as the Rabbit leaps across the distant skyline. A sudden realization hits him. Nenah planned all of this. He sprints toward the edge of the roof, preparing to catch the next falling Zodiac member, his eyes fixed on the girl as she plummets toward him, bracing for impact as he catches her in his arms. This force sends his feet skidding across the concrete. He grits his teeth, straining against the sudden weight, but the girl screams, fighting desperately against his hold, her eyes glowing with a terrifying, inhuman light. From afar, Nenah shouts that he must force her to join, and he struggles to restrain the snarling girl as she thrashes wildly. Gritting his teeth, he vows not to let her go, remembering how she always reached out to him first. His hand clenches around hers with absolute resolve. Vowing that this time he will not back down, he pulls her into a desperate, protective hug. When a brilliant light suddenly erupts from her eyes, Nenah shouts the command to finalize the registration. Another memory surfaces of her as a lonely, crying child, a time when he was the one to comfort her, a promise he made to always protect her. Fueled by that memory, he screams the registration phrase, and a brilliant flash of light envelops them both. A pillar of energy shoots into the night sky. This light fades, leaving him holding a now calm Rabin as he stares in disbelief while Nenah rushes over. A glowing spirit emerges from the subdued girl. It takes the form of a floating rabbit. Leaving Wuju completely stunned by the sight, Nenah calmly notes that the others have arrived, a sinister grin spreading across her face. Confused, he asks who she is talking about just as beams of light rain down across the city. A new voice behind him answers his question, revealing the other Zodiac gods are descending. Later, in what appears to be his own room, Rabin finally begins to stir from her sleep. Her eyes slowly flutter open, dazed and confused. As Wuju asks if she is finally back to herself, he leans over her, relieved to see her awake, but she shoves him away, screaming for him to get out of his own room. This blonde girl stares in wide-eyed shock, pointing at Nenah and accusing her of stealing her clothes, then scolds the student for shouting after nearly dying. Her attention snaps to a glowing rabbit spirit in the room, and Nenah calmly confirms this is not a dream. This girl feels an undeniable, real connection to the creature. Just as Nenah declares her a participant in the Zodiac tournament, a title that leaves her completely bewildered, this student also demands a proper explanation. While Nenah suspects the rabbit has twisted the truth, but the spirit offers to summarize the main points fairly. Explaining the tournament determines the order of the gods, and a judge must gather 12 spirits in 100 days. This prompts the student to ask why it possessed Rabin. Because divine beings now need human hosts to act on Earth, Nenah explains the divine spirits use human hosts for the tournament, a flashback revealing the moment the rabbit's power entered Rabin. He recalls a strange moment when she suddenly pinned him down, desperately begging for the possessing entity to just come out. Nenah clarifies this loss of reason is a side effect of two souls in one body, and the student realizes the terrifying truth of their situation. Meanwhile, a blonde woman walks through an airport terminal, another person experiencing these strange Zodiac phenomena. A nearby child points out her odd appearance, causing her to look down at herself in sudden confusion, shocked by the changes she sees in her own reflection. In another part of the city, a white-haired girl stands over defeated foes, aware that 11 more Zodiac hosts are still out there, her piercing gaze identifying her as the Zodiac Tiger. Back in the present, the student finally understands the full scale of the tournament. Wuju realizes 11 more people will suffer Rabin's fate, a terrifying fact Nenah calmly confirms is true. He panics, questioning how he can find complete strangers, but the spirit reveals the hosts are all connected to him. This is why Rabin, with her strong bond, was possessed first. This idea of this personal connection leaves him stunned, forcing him to question who else in his life is a target. His mind flashes with strange, fragmented memories, and he asks Nenah about the consequences of failure. She reveals the hosts would be completely consumed by their zodiacs. This spirit tells a horrified Rabin they will be together forever, a fate that terrifies both the girl and the creature itself. With the weight of 12 lives on his shoulders, Nenah urges him on, grabbing his face and demanding he stick close to her. Overwhelmed, our boy can only wonder why this is happening to him. This rabbit spirit blurts out that the cat restarted the tournament, earning a harsh squeeze from an enraged Nenah. Rabin then asks about the rules, wondering if they are a secret, but Nenah reveals the judge sets the rules, a judge who has amnesia. Wuju struggles to recall anything, his memory a total blank. Deciding to jog his memory, Nenah takes drastic action, tossing the rabbit spirit directly at him, and it phases straight into his chest, stunning him completely. She immediately pins him down, her hand glowing with power, forcing some kind of energy into his body as he screams out. A glowing symbol begins to burn itself onto his chest, this complex sigil of the Zodiac gods. This rabbit spirit explains this is a roster, currently holding only its name, and once he gathers all 12, the rules will finally be revealed. But there is a catch, he has only 100 days to finish the game. Nenah touches the glowing mark on his chest, revealing the judge will die. A scream of pure shock rips from Wuju's throat. This scene shifts to their cluttered apartment kitchen, settling on a simple pen resting on a desk. Panicked, Wuju insists they must find the other hosts immediately, but Rabin hesitates, a shadow crossing her face. She confronts Nenah directly, asking why she restarted the tournament, and Nenah's gaze turns cold and unreadable, her expression hidden as she turns away. This rabbit spirit interjects, revealing the winner gets one wish. A revelation that leaves Wuju completely stunned. Nenah playfully grabs Rabin, dismissing the topic for now, then shoves her out the door to begin their search. As Rabin puts on her shoes, she pauses in thought when a sudden realization flashes in her eyes. Wuju questions Nenah's plan to stay in his room, but Rabin objects, flustered by the impropriety. Nenah just smirks, asking if she is jealous, then playfully grabs Wuju, promising not to bite. This leaves Rabin completely red-faced and flustered, shouting a denial before storming out of the room and slamming the door shut behind her. A moment later, she bursts back in, throwing clothes at Nenah, demanding she at least cover up properly. Still reeling, our boy asks if she is seriously staying, while Nenah claims he must take responsibility for her. Her hand suddenly grabs his sleeve, pulling him closer with a serious look. He turns, completely flustered by the sudden closeness. As Nenah simply declares that she is hungry, Wuju gets to work in the kitchen, preparing something simple for the demanding god, and he pours a bowl of what looks like milk. His expression shifts as he watches her, a bead of sweat on his cheek betraying his unease. As Nenah gets on all fours to drink from the bowl like an actual cat, she completely embraces her feline instincts, leaving him to wonder if she is truly a cat on the inside. After her meal, she stretches back, completely satisfied, but then complains about the cold, prompting his simple explanation. This word fridge leaves her utterly baffled. She reveals they did not have such things 3,000 years ago. This makes him question how she has survived until now, and she explains waking from a long sleep to a brand new world, unable to even find a fish market in this strange, modern city. Nenah wonders aloud where all the sparrows have gone, jokingly asking if she should look for a mill to grind grain. Wuju approaches, getting her attention in the messy kitchen, and explains that such things no longer exist in this era. This vast modern cityscape confirms just how much time has passed, leaving them in a quiet, glowing stillness in the apartment. A soft sound of realization escapes her lips, as she accepts she has fallen into a completely different world. Our boy listens silently, processing her temporal displacement, then remembers the ice cream, asking how she paid for it. He is stunned to learn she just took it, not understanding money. Feeling scolded, Nenah curls up defensively on the floor, a reaction that makes Wuju blush with guilt. His hands fidget nervously with his shirt cuff before he awkwardly offers to take her for a walk. Nenah's eyes sparkle, offering to go find food alone, but then she grabs Wuju's hand, stunning him. A wide, cat-like grin spreads across her face, declaring it'll be fun. Under the bright full moon, their search begins. Their hands lock together as they walk through the night. This two wander down the quiet city streets, eventually stopping near a brightly lit vending machine where a stray cat suddenly hisses with aggression. Nenah's own instincts flare, dropping to all fours in response. Her attention suddenly fixed on the machine's selection. With glowing, predatory eyes, she stares intently. Wuju watches, bewildered, as she punches a button for a soda. A nearby street lamp illuminates the bizarre moment. Before they reappear on a rooftop, Nenah sipping her prize, this two of them looking out over the vast, sleeping city. A bell chimes at a local ice cream shop, where a young man finds Nenah staring into a freezer. He pays for a watermelon ice pop she apparently tried to take, gently lecturing her on how to properly buy things. Offering her the treat, he warns her not to steal again, but Nenah just stares back, confused by the gesture, her inhuman, cat-like eyes glinting in the light. And she suddenly lets out a meow, startling the boy completely. Licking her lips, she seems more animal than human. Her expression then shifts to pure delight over the taste. This girl savors the ice pop with a blissful look, catching the young man completely off guard with her forwardness. And he cannot help but think she is just a normal girl up close, still holding the treat for her as she continues to eat. Back in the present, he recounts this story and is immediately called a liar. Inside a self-service store, Wuju explains the modern world, while a nearby couple shares an intimate moment. Nenah watches them with intense, wide-eyed curiosity, prompting Wuju to quickly cover her eyes, and he apologizes loudly while dragging her away. This other couple is left completely bewildered by the scene. Finally, outside, they catch their breath on the quiet street, Wuju sighing with relief that they got away, deciding it is best to wrap up their walk for the night. Back home, Nenah questions why they suddenly fled, complaining that she is now all dirty from the escape. A flustered Wuju stammers that she should wash up, and her hand moves to her jacket's zipper. She simply stretches with a yawn, shocking him completely, then begins to lick her arm clean just like a cat. Wuju panics, completely caught off guard by her actions. He tries to get Nenah to wash up, but she refuses to get wet, handing her the shower head with simple instructions. But she begins to undress right in front of him, leaving the boy completely flustered outside the door. His hand rests on the doorknob, hesitating for a moment. A sudden thought crossing his mind. He remembers the bathroom door is broken and will not lock, just as Nenah begins to use the shower inside. This realization leaves him utterly petrified. While outside, two cats rest peacefully on a balcony. A moment later, Nenah steps out feeling refreshed. Emerging from the bathroom in one of his shirts, she finds Wuju clinging to the fridge for dear life. The shower now silent in the empty bathroom. In the shower, Wuju tries to get a grip on his new reality. This weight of it all settles on him in a heavy sigh. Stepping out of the bathroom, he finds Nenah already asleep on his bed, and an annoyed expression takes over his features. He just stares at her, curled up and fast asleep. But she suddenly wakes, asking why the light is still on. Wuju grabs a blanket, declaring he will sleep on the floor, an idea Nenah immediately objects to. She invites him to sleep together, just like last night. This suggestion leaves Wuju a blushing, stuttering mess, frantically spouting rules about men and women sharing a room, only to realize she meant sleeping together in her cat form, yet an image of her human form flashes in his mind. Holding the purring cat, he realizes this is not any less awkward. As the quiet night settles over the apartment building, watching her sleep, he thinks she is just a normal cat, but his expression remains heavy with the truth of their situation. His own exhaustion finally takes over, and morning light soon breaks over the city. Wuju wakes with a start, wondering when he fell asleep, until a strange warmth beside him catches his attention. He finds Nenah curled up against him in bed, and a panic scream rips through the apartment. Now fully awake, he is a flustered mess as Nenah calmly greets him, explaining he needs to get ready for school, a foreign concept to her. Her eyes suddenly sparkle with excitement, declaring she wants to go too, a request that leaves Wuju completely stunned. He imagines her causing absolute chaos in the school hallway, a horrifying thought he immediately rejects, but someone is already heading out the door. Outside the school, a girl wonders why he is so late. Just as Wuju finally arrives, looking completely exhausted, she spots him with a cheerful wave and a smile. His mind flashes back to Nenah, causing him to blush furiously. This girl's sharp eyes catch his sudden change in expression. Noticing his face turning a deep shade of red, she is left completely baffled by his strange reaction. While he recalls Nenah's firm instructions from that morning, she'd ordered him to find the other Zodiacs while she stayed home. He remembers her watching from the stairs as he left, but a sly grin hinted at her true intentions. In a flash, she transformed and leapt from the wall, disappearing into the quiet morning streets. Now at school, Wuju frets over his impossible mission, completely unaware of the other Zodiacs already around him. Wuju pauses at the classroom door, deciding to just focus on getting through the day. He slides the door open and peeks inside, only to find the room strangely empty. A classmate whispers that the school bullies are all absent, and as Wuju takes his seat, the teacher arrives. She announces the missing students have all been hospitalized, slamming her hand down to silence the room's shock. This situation is still being assessed, she explains, warning everyone not to spread any rumors. Then she calls on a surprised Wuju for the morning greeting, and the school day proceeds with an unusual calm. Sunlight filters peacefully through the trees outside. A quietness that Wuju finds almost unsettling, until a mundane thought brings him back, returning overdue books. This morning sun streams into an empty school hallway. As a student rushes through the corridor, clearly in a hurry, he finds a classmate in the library returning a book to her, their fingers brushing against each other in the exchange. This unexpected touch leaves them both momentarily stunned, and they quickly stammer out mutual apologies for the awkwardness. Her attention then shifts to the book's cover, where she notices a cute illustration of rabbits, prompting the boy to nervously explain his love for animals. But she just smiles, calmly stating that she already knows, revealing she has often seen him in the natural sciences section. This revelation leaves him blushing and utterly speechless, as he internally panics, wishing he'd read more impressive books. This girl watches his flustered reaction with a hint of concern, while the boy remains frozen in total embarrassment. At the school library, a staff member dismisses Wuju, but he is suddenly shoved backwards out the door. This woman's eyes glint as she watches him leave. Mortified, Wuju stumbles through the hall, crashing right into a blonde classmate with a yelp. This girl quickly apologizes for the collision before scolding him for not paying attention. He apologizes, but she is focused on their search for a suspicious person. Her expression shifts as she considers his response. Then she grabs his arm, calling him hopeless. A blushing Wuju is stunned by her forwardness. She declares she needs to make sure he is doing his job, pulling him down the empty school corridor. Her plan is to search crowded places for divine spirits, a clever idea that Wuju cannot help but admire. This blonde girl playfully calls him out for being thoughtless, bringing up an embarrassing childhood memory from sports day. And while another student hydrates, he insists he is still cute now. Her tone suddenly shifts as she remembers something important, looking serious as she asks about certain people at their school, specifically asking about the school bullies. This question makes him stammer, clutching his chest suddenly, and worried, she rushes to support him as he complains of chest pain, but he quickly dismisses her concern, saying he will visit the infirmary. Her gaze, however, drifts past him to a group of students nearby. A thought crossing her mind, perhaps their targets are among that group. All the school's delinquents seem to be gathered in one spot, discussing the official story about the hospitalized bullies, until one mentions the rumor that they were beaten up badly. Her eye gleams with suspicion, processing this new information. A student is violently shoved against the wall. This blonde student watches in shock as another passes by. Their destination revealed to be the school infirmary. Inside, a student lies on a bed, asking the nurse a question, wanting to know if he is finally free to go, but the nurse gives a firm and final no, her heels stepping dangerously close to him. A sly smile plays across her lips as she forces him back down onto the bed. This student is completely overpowered, pinned beneath her. She declares his treatment is not finished yet. Her denial is absolute and unwavering, her fingers moving to unfasten her shirt, repeating that his session is far from over, leaving the student utterly terrified and speechless. A flashback begins in an empty school hallway, a groan echoing through the space. Suddenly, a strange tightness grips Wuju's chest, his vision blurring. He stumbles toward the nurse's office, barely able to call for help, only to walk in on the nurse adjusting her stockings, freezing him in place. Mortified, he quickly turns away with a flustered apology. This nurse calmly apologizes for the awkward situation, explaining she was just fixing a snag in her stocking. Wuju clutches his heart, wondering if he is just startled, but this feeling is something more than just a racing heartbeat. She places a hand on his shoulder, confirming his identity. Her eyes narrow as she asks if he came because of chest pain, and he gasps, the strange sensation intensifying. He confirms the pain started suddenly and is getting worse, prompting her to move closer, her hand searching for the source. With a knowing smile, she senses a burning sensation, claiming she knows what it is. In the nurse's office, a woman tells the nervous student to sit down, and he reaches for a stool only for her to stop him. This leaves the boy completely confused. She gestures instead to the medical bed, ordering him to sit there, her inviting smile only deepening his unease. This student breaks into a cold sweat, utterly bewildered. Standing frozen between the bed and the waiting woman, he reluctantly takes a seat on the edge of the mattress, and a satisfied expression crosses her face as she looks down. She then kneels before him, ordering him to take off his shirt, even offering to help with a sly look in her eye. Panicked, he insists on doing it himself, fumbling with the buttons, and with his shirt open, she points directly at his chest. This woman reveals she placed a resonance spell on him, explaining his dizziness is from divine powers he is not used to. She climbs onto the bed, admitting her clumsy method is temporary. Wuju, terrified, questions her cryptic words. Before he can react, she pins him completely beneath her, and our boy stammers for her to stop, completely overwhelmed. Leaning in close, she whispers that he was lucky. Then her true form is revealed, a reptilian tail unfurling behind her. Her eyes glow as she promises to end his pain, leaving Wuju frozen in utter shock. With a monstrous snarl, her face contorts, fangs bared, and her sharp tail strikes directly at his chest, causing him to cry out in agony. Meanwhile, outside the infirmary, a student is brutally kicked. This attacker's shock is clear on his face, as an unseen force sends him flying backwards through the air. A hand crackles with power, revealing the source of the attack. A flashback shows a student sent flying from a brutal blow, a memory of a bully's vicious assault on a classmate. Now a different girl's eyes glow with purple fury, her clawed hand grabbing that same bully's head. He chokes, gasping for air, lifted effortlessly against a wall. Her gaze remains cold and unforgiving, her grip tightening around his throat. She finally drops him to the ground in a heap, pinning him down as he demands to know why, but she coldly asks if a reason is necessary, turning his own past cruelty back on him. From a distance, the blonde girl witnesses the brutal payback, her concern growing as she checks her phone. Wuju is not answering at a critical moment. A girl screams as she stumbles backwards, her phone slipping from her grasp. Suddenly, a horned assailant with glowing eyes appears, catching the phone midair with a single hand. She looms over the terrified student cowering on the ground, then unleashes a swift, unseen strike, her purple eyes glowing with an intense focus. This mysterious attacker then looks up at the evening sky, her purpose remaining a complete mystery. Elsewhere, a student is suffocated in a bed, gasping for air, his body trapped by a massive, scaly tail. This nurse, now transformed, had offered a painless end, but now she promises to make it excruciatingly painful. With immense force, the boy is hurled from the room, screaming, as another student runs for his life down the chaotic hallway. He realizes the nurse is the host, desperately needing to hide. An empty classroom door offers a fleeting chance of escape, and he scrambles inside, seeking any available cover. Slumped against the wall, Wuju tries to catch his breath, noticing his chest pain is gone, but a new terror takes its place. Down the hall, the nurse transforms, her body now half serpent. Her glowing reptilian eye scans the area intently, homing in on his location with an unnatural sense. A forked tongue tastes the air, savoring the hunt, while Wuju huddles in the corner, paralyzed by fear. His eyes widen in shock as he realizes he has been found. A massive tail smashes through the window, sending him flying, and he lands hard on the classroom floor with a groan. In the shattered frame, her monstrous silhouette appears, his terrified reflection captured in her eye as she declares, "Found you." Wuju thinks it is all over, bracing for the worst. But a bunny-eared girl suddenly intervenes, kicking the monster away, and he recognizes his friend Rabin in her transformed state. She explains she heard his screams and rushed to find him, while the serpent nurse watches them from the shadows. Rabin quickly pulls Wuju to his feet, leading him in a desperate escape down the hall. He frantically tries to explain the nurse's bizarre behavior, but his flustered words only confuse and anger her. Wuju realizes the nurse is a host, prompting Rabin to ask what he means. He admits he found another one, leaving her completely stunned. Just then, a massive scaly tail whips around the corner, ensnaring Rabin and yanking her off her feet with a scream, and she cries out his name as the nurse looms over her. Wuju can only watch, frozen, as his friend is captured. Held upside down, a rabbit-eared girl complains about the awful sensation, and the serpent nurse mocks her for her lack of manners. She then licks the terrified girl's cheek, savoring her fear. This rabbit girl's eye widens in pure horror, her face contorting in silent shock as she gasps, and her hand goes limp, her strength fading completely. Suddenly, a student with glasses bursts in, screaming for them to stop. But in a flash of light, the rabbit girl transforms into a doll, which the serpent nurse catches effortlessly in her hand. She mocks the doll, calling its rabbit power useless and weak, while the real girl pleads desperately from the ceiling. This monster declares she will finish the rabbit before the main course, revealing Wuju is also trapped in her massive tail. This rabbit girl's eyes close as she loses consciousness. With her first victim down, the serpent points toward the new arrival. Wuju staggers to his feet, completely disoriented. Just then, someone lands gracefully on the floor nearby. and he looks up to see a girl with cat ears named Nenah. This serpent nurse slams another student into the window, sending our boy stumbling back in pure shock. His eyes widen at the brutal display of power. Nenah turns to him with a grin, having finally found him, leaving Wuju utterly baffled by her sudden appearance. On the floor, the blonde girl weakly calls Nenah a thief, her energy completely drained from the fight. Wuju realizes Rabin is in trouble, but Nenah seems unfazed. Explaining the monster absorbed all of Rabin's divine power, she promises to handle the creature first, cracking her knuckles as if the beast is no threat at all. Then she leaps forward to join the fray. Wuju suddenly realizes he might have a chance. He recalls a crucial fact: a cat's reflexes are faster than a snake's, and with this knowledge his fist clenches in determination. Just then a girl is hurled violently down the hallway, landing in a heap as he calls out her name, Nenah. But their reunion is cut short as the serpent nurse appears, ordering Wuju to carry the unconscious student with them. Her feline eye glowing as she reveals their only option: to run as fast as they possibly can. Their footsteps pound down the corridor in a desperate escape, while Nenah explains the nurse transformed after draining another's divine power. And as Wuju asks what that is, the monster's tail strikes. Divine power is revealed as a heavenly energy, the source of life. But once spirits descend to Earth for a tournament, that connection is severed, meaning if their reserves run dry, they lose all their strength. Wuju panics, demanding to know what they can do. Nenah explains they can use the host's life force or steal another's power, just as the serpent nurse did to their friend. He realizes this is why Rabin is unconscious. While running, Nenah mentions a way to replenish it, but she warns him not to worry about Rabin right now, because they have a much more immediate problem. This serpent nurse stands before them, blocking their path. Suddenly, her massive tail smashes through the windows, sending Wuju and the girl he is carrying to the ground. Nenah is also thrown back by the devastating attack. He lands in a cart full of basketballs, breaking his fall, but Nenah slams hard against a metal locker with a scream. Wuju calls out her name in alarm, and she grits her teeth, asking if he is hurt. Nenah steels herself for a difficult choice, urging Wuju to escape while he still can. She reveals he is the judge, a fountain of infinite divine power, and the serpent nurse's true goal becomes terrifyingly clear. Her plan is to devour him and become the ultimate monster. Wuju realizes he is just an energy source for these spirits, but offering his power is not an option. This only way to take it is to consume him completely, a process that would mean his certain death. This grim reality of his situation sinks in, leaving him feeling utterly helpless. If he is caught, the entire tournament ends right there. So Nenah prepares to hold the monster off, screaming for Wuju to run for his life, and she launches herself into a desperate attack. Nenah clings to the massive serpent's tail, striking it. Her attack sparks uselessly against the thick scales, and she realizes her strength is not enough to win. Wuju carries his fallen friend toward the basketballs, setting her down before looking back at the fight. This monster's tail slithers across the gym floor, closing in, but he resolves that he cannot abandon her. Suddenly, Nenah is back on her feet, facing the serpent head-on, dodging a powerful tail whip with cat-like agility. She leaps high into the air to evade the attack, only to fall right into the monster's trap. Another tail shoots up from below, ensnaring her mid-flight, and Wuju can only scream her name in terror. This serpent's coils tighten, biting into her neck. Its host mocks her for being trapped like common prey. This serpent nurse mocks Nenah's sharp tongue, her glowing eyes revealing a sinister intent. As Nenah screams, crushed in the tightening coils, this monster declares furry creatures are her nourishment, whispering for the cat girl to quietly submit. Wuju screams in horror, unable to intervene. He catches Nenah as she falls unconscious in his arms. Overflowing with divine power, the nurse licks her lips, now believing she can become the new heavens. Nenah weakly tells Wuju he should have run away, but he can only stare in helpless despair. Nearby, Rabin lies completely still on the floor, her energy along with Nenah's totally drained. This serpent nurse basks in the glow of her stolen power, while Wuju blames his weakness for their defeat. A massive blast of light erupts outside the school. Wuju kneels, consumed by his own powerlessness, while the nurse revels in her newfound strength. Her serpent form towers over him, a true monster, its shadow falling over the entire school grounds. This creature tells him not to be sad about his fate, but he can only think of what he could have done as its massive jaws open to swallow him whole. Desperate, Wuju wishes for just a little more strength, just as the serpent lunges for the final kill. He closes his eyes, apologizing for his failure. Suddenly, a pillar of golden light engulfs the building, leaving the once chaotic gym eerily empty. A hand reaches out, glowing with immense divine power, making the serpent stare in utter disbelief. Nenah stares up from the floor, whispering his name. Suddenly, a brilliant golden light erupts from Wuju's hair, his eyes transforming into glowing, slitted pupils, and he raises a hand, commanding the beast to stop. This massive serpent looms over its own terrified host, who can only apologize for the destruction he has caused. His face contorts with regret and inner conflict, just as a pillar of divine energy explodes from Wuju. In pure shock, the serpent recoils from this sudden power, while its host stares in utter disbelief at the boy. Wuju now stands surrounded by ancient symbols, a being of light, and the monster cannot comprehend what it is witnessing. This nurse's human form can only question how this is possible, as Wuju's hand holds back the serpent's massive head, revealing he is the snake now joining the tournament. This serpent's tail glows around a sphere of pure energy, which explodes in a blinding flash of divine power. Suddenly, Wuju's consciousness drifts to a moonlit sky. He finds himself floating in a serene, dreamlike forest, his attention caught by the sound of someone approaching. In the clearing, a younger version of Nenah appears before him, her expression somber and distant in the pale light, and her spectral form passes directly through his body, leaving Wuju utterly bewildered by the strange encounter. As he is pulled away from the scene, he calls out in confusion, now watching from the bushes as the young Nenah hides. Her gaze is fixed on a happy family in the distance, a lonely observer watching a life she does not have. A single tear escapes her eye, revealing a deep sadness. As she focuses on the loving parents at the center of it all, a memory surfaces of a quiet, moonlit night where a woman spots a young Nenah hiding in a bush, and the little cat girl flinches, completely startled. She dashes out from her hiding spot toward a young boy while he rushes forward to meet her in the clearing, their hands clasping together in a tender moment. This boy suddenly pulls her into a tight embrace, bringing tears to the young cat girl's eyes. This vision ends, leaving Wuju to wonder why. He asks himself why Nenah was crying in that memory, and a single tear escapes his own eye as he groans, slowly returning to consciousness. His vision clears to reveal Rabin unconscious on his chest, with Nenah also lying limp beside her, and he bolts upright with a scream, realizing it was all a nightmare. Wuju wakes up in a panic, questioning how this happened. Across the room, Nenah calmly holds a strange, snake-like object, and when asked what she is doing, she calls it delivering justice. This snake-like object suddenly cries out in pain. Wuju points in disbelief as Nenah confirms it is the snake spirit, then reveals the host is the nurse, sleeping soundly nearby. This terrifying image of the giant serpent flashes in his mind. He struggles to understand, asking if hosts can become devouring monsters. But Nenah clarifies it was not a monster, just the snake regaining its power, explaining the attempt to consume them was a complete possession, a state where the divine spirit forces the host to act on their deepest desires. Horrified, Wuju asks if becoming that monster was the teacher's true wish. But because the nurse's own energy was weak, the snake's desires took over. This tiny snake spirit admits they were incredibly lucky to survive. Enraging Nenah, who scolds it for nearly ruining the tournament. Nenah asks how he defeated the serpent monster, a flash of his golden, slitted eye appearing in his mind, recalling the moment he held back the beast with divine light. Even she is curious about the source of that power, but Wuju struggles to find the words to explain. Suddenly, Nenah grabs his head, interrupting his thoughts, quickly claiming it was the special power of a judge. She explains it is a rare ability granted for the tournament, reminding him it is also how he survived his earlier fall. Her little tail creature suddenly gets sick from the lie. Wuju, relieved, asks when Rabin and the teacher will wake up, but Nenah's cheerful demeanor instantly vanishes. He panics, realizing they are not just sleeping. She reveals their divine energy was stolen by the spirit, warning him that their very lives are now at risk. A small blue spirit admits its excitement led to this mess, explaining divine power is an irresistible drug for spirits. Wuju asks what to do, looking at the unconscious Rabin, but the spirit reveals a treasury of power is right there. Suddenly, Nenah is awake, presenting herself as the answer. Wuju can only stare, completely stunned by her recovery, his mind flashing back to the serpent's grim warning. He confronts Nenah, recalling her words about being consumed. But she just smirks, clarifying that is how one asterisk takes asterisk power. She explains the host is simply a vessel for the energy, and devouring the judge is only for gaining immense power. A slower, more reliable method is to simply share it. This revelation gives Wuju a sudden burst of hope, and he eagerly asks how he can share his energy. In response, Nenah simply offers him her hand. Nenah leans in with a mischievous, cat-like grin, pressing his hands against her as Wuju begs her to stop. She insists this is serious, looking up at him intently, but then Rabin instructs him to hold her hands instead. A flustered Wuju looks down, completely embarrassed by the situation, and as their hands clasp, a divine light begins to glow. A small spirit confirms the divine power is flowing into them, revealing that contact is the only way to recover their strength. Rabin tells him they must stay like this until morning, and now both girls are pressed against him for the night. Wuju panics, wondering how he can possibly sleep like this. Just then, another presence makes him look up in shock, seeing Nenah standing over him with a triumphant smile. She leaps right on top of him with a sudden pounce, snuggling in to absorb the warmth as he cries out her name. Wuju questions how he is supposed to sleep like this, as the scene cuts to a quiet, dimly lit bedroom. A worried parent begs their daughter to come outside, but inside, a young girl stress eats by her monitor. Ignoring a friend's messages about her absence from school, she scoffs at the very idea of going back, wondering how she could possibly face anyone, her tears revealing a deep fear of being seen. Meanwhile, a man in a suit stands atop a school building, his gaze fixed silently on the city below. A ball of crackling energy begins to form in his hands, aimed directly at the school grounds, which erupts into a swirling vortex of raw power. He rises into the air, unleashing a storm of lightning. As his divine energy explodes across the night sky, Wuju stares awake, completely exhausted from the long night. This entire group is still piled onto him in the tiny bed, and he wonders if their divine powers have returned yet. A strange, heart-shaped battery icon appears before his eyes, confirming he is drained from sharing so much of his energy. A memory of their close call reminds him to stay prepared, but seeing them sleep so peacefully, he decides to wait. Suddenly, he feels his leg going numb under Nenah's weight, and he tries to stretch it out just a little bit. This slight movement causes Nenah to stir in her sleep. She abruptly shifts, climbing right on top of him, her face now hovering directly above his own. Wuju's eyes widen in complete shock at her proximity. Realizing their lips are now just inches apart, he panics, thinking this cannot be his first kiss. As a storm rages outside the window, Nenah's eyes slowly open with a soft murmur. She suddenly leans down to kiss a sleeping Wuju, a sight that makes Rabin's eyes fly open in shock. Wuju is startled awake by the unexpected contact, just as a piercing scream echoes through the room. Rabin stands over them, pointing in utter disbelief, demanding to know what they were just doing. She accuses Wuju of taking advantage of Nenah, but her angry gaze suddenly shifts to the side, spotting the school nurse lying in the very same bed. At that moment, the nurse begins to stir, her eyes opening to the chaotic scene before her. Confused, she rubs her eyes and asks where she is, leading to two more horrified screams erupting in the night. A quiet, rainy night sets a somber scene. This nurse finally awakens, trying to process everything. As Rabin explains the unbelievable truth about Nenah and the tournament, she sketches out how Wuju's role as judge turns people into hosts, and the only way to control a rampaging spirit is to join the game. This teacher summarizes her ordeal of becoming the snake monster, and while Rabin expects disbelief, the woman accepts it all, leaving the young girl completely stunned by her trust. This teacher explains she can feel a connection to the tiny spirit. She then teases Rabin about her less-than-perfect drawing, who quickly brushes it off to get back to the serious stakes. If the tournament does not start in 100 days, their lives are forfeit. This gravity of their situation finally sinks in for the teacher, who declares she cannot let her students face this danger alone, offering to help them in any way she possibly can. This teacher gratefully touches Wuju's chest, feeling strengthened by his support, when the divine mark on his skin suddenly flares to life, revealing the zodiac symbols for the rabbit and the snake. Curious, she leans in close, asking if all 12 will reveal the game's rules, but quickly pulls back with a laugh, apologizing for her excitement. A flustered Wuju can only agree with her logic, before the teacher suddenly panics about being late for school, only to collapse in relief when he reminds her it is Saturday. Lying down, she wonders if other hosts are active on the weekend, and Nenah chimes in that it would make their search much easier. At that moment, Rabin announces she found another host yesterday, prompting Wuju to recall their interrupted conversation from before. She describes the new host focusing on a pair of distinct horns, a flashback showing a girl with ram horns attacking a man, and apparently she was last seen beating up their school's delinquents. Nenah theorizes the sheep spirit is not violent like the snake, a realization that makes this situation far more dangerous. Rabin asks if she saw the new host's face, pressing for any detail until Nenah mentions square glasses. Flustered, Nenah protests she cannot think under such pressure, while Wuju quietly mulls over the new clue. This thought of square glasses lingers as rain pours down, cutting to a girl wearing a mask and those very same glasses. She kneels on the floor, picking up a dropped box, her eyes suddenly widening as she looks up, seeing another person in a large raincoat standing over her. This hooded customer walks past her into the store, grabbing a basket and heading down the aisles. She frantically begins piling snacks into her basket, revealing it is the stress-eating girl still insatiably hungry. This scene shifts to the girl from the bedroom, now working a convenience store shift. As her mother arrives, buying baskets full of snacks, this daughter stares, seemingly lost in her own world, prompting her mother to yell at her for spacing out. Her eyes narrow, snapping back to the present moment, and she begins rapidly scanning the mountain of items. This store's shelves are packed with the very snacks she binges on, ringing up an enormous total for the purchase. With the transaction complete, her mother grabs the bags, cursing in frustration as she storms out the door. She even leaves behind an entire rack of umbrellas, and the girl can only watch her go through the rain-slicked glass. Outside, her mother collapses in the downpour, completely overwhelmed. Alone again, the girl, Min Jinyun, removes her mask, crushing it in her hand with quiet frustration. This scene cuts to black, marking a new day. Elsewhere, a girl with dark hair stands alone in a store, her eyes suddenly flaring with a menacing purple glow. As rain pours down across the city rooftops, Wuju stares out the window, lost in thought about someone with square glasses. Rabin teases him, doubting a loner like him would remember anyone, her voice snapping him out of his daze. Just then, the teacher pulls them into a group hug, noting their exhaustion. She suggests they all take a break after their rough day, and Rabin agrees, complaining about needing a shower. Her hand then reaches for her phone on the desk, revealing a screen full of missed calls from her mom. An angry voice immediately demands to know where she is, forcing Rabin to make up a quick lie about studying, a lie that gets both her and Wuju an earful. Rabin desperately tries to explain things to her angry mother. While back at the apartment, Nenah waves goodbye to Wuju. Outside, Rabin prepares to head home in the pouring rain, giving Wuju a final serious warning to stay in touch. Inside, Nenah playfully reminds him to keep an eye out for strange people, and Rabin acknowledges the plan with a determined look. Nenah suddenly shakes Wuju, yelling at him to remember the glasses, a sight that gives Rabin pause as she finally leaves. He is left completely dazed by her sudden outburst. While Rabin stands alone in the downpour, lost in thought, she lets out a heavy, troubled sigh, her mind replaying the moment Nenah kissed Wuju. Seeing them together stirs a strange feeling inside her, a deep irritation she cannot seem to understand. This rain continues to fall, mirroring her inner turmoil. A lonely girl stands in the rain, feeling lost. Back at the apartment, Rabin eyes Wuju with a playful smirk. He turns around, completely flustered by her comment. Her gaze remains sharp and teasing, and she suddenly leaps onto his back demanding food. A weary Wuju opens the fridge, sighing about his new houseguest, only to find the shelves completely bare. He offers to run to the store, but she refuses to go. Confused, he reminds her she wanted a walk just moments ago, but Rabin simply says she hates the rain. With a sigh, Wuju reluctantly agrees to go alone. Grabbing an umbrella as he heads for the door. Outside, the downpour is immediate and intense. A storm now sweeping across the entire city. This boy notes the rain is much heavier than he expected. Walking through the downpour, Wuju hears a sudden noise and turns just in time to see a girl rushing toward him. They collide in a moment of shared shock, sending her belongings scattering across the wet pavement. Both of them fall to the ground from the impact. And she curses, looking at her spilled snacks. She frantically shoves everything back into the box, then bolts without a second glance, disappearing into the rain. Her voice stops him cold. It sounds just like someone he knows, but her appearance is completely different from who he remembers. He realizes a host transformation could explain this change, deciding he has to follow her and find out the truth. His pursuit is cut short when someone blocks his path. And peering around the corner, he sees a familiar face. It is Jihyun Sunbi, leaving him utterly speechless. A lone girl dashes through the pouring rain, as Rabin recalls how this new host attacked their school's delinquents, and Nenah, under pressure, remembers one key detail. This girl was wearing a pair of square glasses. This makes Wuju wonder if it is his upperclassman, Jihyun. Meanwhile, a girl in a raincoat hurries down a deserted street, clutching her hood tightly against the downpour. Her face etched with a growing sense of panic. She quickens her pace along the slick pavement, suddenly sensing she is not alone out here. A chilling thought confirms her worst fear: she is being followed. She breaks into a desperate sprint, glancing back in terror, as a towering presence appears just behind her. Stumbling with fear, she looks absolutely horrified, and she tries to flee into the rainy night. She glances back in sudden alarm, a gasp of pure terror escaping her lips. Screaming for her pursuer to get away, she bolts, then stops to defiantly call out her stalker. She accuses them of following her from the store, but a calm voice mocks her empty bravado, revealing a girl with glowing purple eyes emerging from the shadows. Her appearance shifts, now with white hair and glasses, as she threatens her life. Min Jinhyun is paralyzed by absolute fear, finally breaking into a desperate, panicked scream. This chase begins, one sprinting while the other calmly follows. Her face a mask of sheer desperation. Her pursuer watches with cold, predatory eyes as the girl scrambles up a flight of stairs. Racing toward the safety of an elevator, she frantically mashes the elevator button, desperate to escape. This girl begs for the doors to open faster, her face pale with fear, and just as it arrives, she glances back down the hall. Her eyes widen in terror as the doors slide open, revealing the reflection of her pursuer with glowing purple eyes. Frozen in place, she stares at the impossible image in the polished steel. Barely breathing, her mind struggles to comprehend the sight, wondering what kind of monster is hunting her down. A shadowy presence looms just behind her as she whispers a name. This elevator dings, its doors wide open on the 12th floor, before she is violently thrown inside with a piercing scream. Cowering in the corner, she pleads for it to stay back. But the attacker grabs her, her own eyes glowing as she accepts her fate. Her final thoughts are of all the things she will never get to do. A hand then reaches down, ready to end it all. This girl on the floor looks up in total shock. Seeing Wuju offering a hand to help her up, she immediately recoils, trembling with fear, her eyes wide with a mix of panic and recognition. He remains there, confused by her panicked reaction, grabbing her hand and asking if she is due Hayagi. Flustered, she pulls her hood down and denies it, but Wuju is certain he knows who she is. She violently shoves him back, screaming her denial, then makes a break for it down the corridor. Glancing back, she yells for him to leave her alone, reaching an apartment door and fumbling with the keypad. As the door unlocks, Wuju lunges to stop her, catching the door just as it is about to close. She struggles against him, screaming insults to make him let go. He is stunned by her incredible strength and a familiar nickname, but she fires back, calling him a loser and demanding answers. Wuju explains he was worried seeing someone else trailing her. He quickly covers, mentioning rumors of a new bully hunter, then recounts their accidental collision in the alley, admitting he did not recognize her because she looked bigger. That single word makes her absolutely furious, and Hayagi slams him hard against the door. Her own strength seems to surprise her, as her grip accidentally unlocks the door behind him, sending them both tumbling backward into the apartment. She lands right on top of him in a heap, asking if he is okay while he is pinned beneath her. In the sudden closeness, her expression shifts to shock, a deep blush spreading across her flustered face. The lead pushes forward as the conflict keeps escalating. Tension builds as the stakes grow higher. The moment shifts and the balance tips. Something changes in the air between them. The scene holds, then moves on. Conflict simmers beneath the surface. He holds his ground as the situation unfolds. She takes a step and the dynamic shifts. The next beat of the story lands. The pressure rises as the dangerous clash keeps escalating. The lead pushes forward as the conflict keeps escalating. Tension builds as the stakes grow higher. The moment shifts and the balance tips. Something changes in the air between them. The scene holds, then moves on. Conflict simmers beneath the surface. He holds his ground as the situation unfolds. She takes a step and the dynamic shifts. The next beat of the story lands. The pressure rises as the dangerous clash keeps escalating. The lead pushes forward as the conflict keeps escalating. Tension builds as the stakes grow higher. The moment shifts and the balance tips. Something changes in the air between them. The scene holds, then moves on. Conflict simmers beneath the surface. He holds his ground as the situation unfolds. She takes a step and the dynamic shifts. The next beat of the story lands. The pressure rises as the dangerous clash keeps escalating. The lead pushes forward as the conflict keeps escalating. Tension builds as the stakes grow higher. The moment shifts and the balance tips. Something changes in the air between them. The scene holds, then moves on. Conflict simmers beneath the surface. He holds his ground as the situation unfolds. She takes a step and the dynamic shifts. The next beat of the story lands. The pressure rises as the dangerous clash keeps escalating. The lead pushes forward as the conflict keeps escalating. Tension builds as the stakes grow higher. The moment shifts and the balance tips. Something changes in the air between them. The scene holds, then moves on. Conflict simmers beneath the surface. He holds his ground as the situation unfolds. She takes a step and the dynamic shifts. The next beat of the story lands. The pressure rises as the dangerous clash keeps escalating. The lead pushes forward as the conflict keeps escalating. Tension builds as the stakes grow higher. The moment shifts and the balance tips. Something changes in the air between them. The scene holds, then moves on. Conflict simmers beneath the surface. He holds his ground as the situation unfolds. She takes a step and the dynamic shifts. The next beat of the story lands. The pressure rises as the dangerous clash keeps escalating. Wuju pleads for her to trust him just this once. Her hand trembles as she reaches for the doorknob while he looks on, confused by her simple question. Hayagi demands to know why he is trying to help her, and he stammers that he could not abandon a friend in danger. His words seem to break through her defenses, leaving her to question his kindness through her tears. Overwhelmed, Hayagi suddenly drops to the floor, her body shaking with sorrow and shame. This apartment door then creaks open as she moves to exit, asking if he could still call this new form a friend. Wuju calls her name, his voice filled with concern, but she tearfully asks how he even recognized her at all. In that instant, a strange power surges through her body, erupting from her with a pained, guttural cry. Wuju admits he should have recognized her all along. A memory surfacing of him admiring her unique hair color, a moment that clearly flustered her back then. He then teases that her scent was the real giveaway, snapping back to the present as he pins her down, apologizing. In her transformed state, she remains completely still, while Wuju carefully steps forward, lowering his stance as he prepares to make a move. Her own power flares up in a defensive crouch, but he suddenly grabs her, insisting they have no time to waste. He is certain the animal spirit possessing her is the key, and with a powerful shove sends her flying toward the door, where a glowing magical circle activates beneath them. This light intensifies, pulling them through the floor, officially entering the pig into the tournament. A girl's face lights up with pure, unadulterated joy. As a brilliant pink flash illuminates the window, she happily cuddles a glowing, pig-like creature, while another woman stares in disbelief at the floating being. This magical pig calmly assesses the entire situation, praising a boy with glasses for summoning it through a tournament. Stunned by the talking pig, the woman can only point in shock, before the creature unleashes a powerful, transformative light, forcing the boy to shield his eyes from the blast. In a flash, a dark, powerful form begins to emerge, spinning through the air in a burst of purple energy, revealing a silver-haired woman with horns and glasses. Her expression hardens as she clenches a fist, preparing for a fight with dark power swirling around her. Her hand now firmly clasped by an unseen ally. This horned woman flinches, bracing for an unseen attack, suddenly getting launched across the room with incredible force and slamming hard against the wall behind her. She gasps in pain, completely overwhelmed by the blow, a power Wuju recognizes as belonging to the pig. He understands that her strength is not from her size, but from the dense muscle mass of a pig's spirit, a power that grants Hayagi unbelievable strength. Her eyes glow with focused purple energy, channeling 50 kilograms of pure skeletal muscle into her attacks. Back in the present, the horned woman coughs, defeated, collapsing to the floor, unable to fight back. Just then, a new woman with pink hair appears, her chilling smile promising a swift end, and she lunges forward to deliver the final blow. Hayagi's eyes gleam with a terrifying new power, reflecting the horned woman's utter shock. While Wuju celebrates, realizing her fat became pure strength, this horned woman struggles in her grip, demanding respect, her own glowing eyes widening in disbelief. Just as Hayagi finally notices Wuju in the room, this momentary distraction leaves her completely open, and the horned woman shoves her back with immense force, sending Hayagi crashing through a table, mortified by her own weight. Furious, the woman demands to know why Wuju is even here. Before leaping dramatically out the broken window, she lands hard on the rain-slick ledge outside, a determined gaze hardening against the downpour. Inside, Hayagi orders Wuju to chase after her, but the woman's parting insult only fuels Hayagi's rage. Wuju screams a desperate warning from the balcony, her body hurtling down the face of the skyscraper. Powerless, he watches the fall in utter shock. Back in the present, Hayagi groans, the fight taking its toll, and Wuju expresses his relief that she is safe. Overcome with emotion, she suddenly grabs him, crying out in sheer relief that she is still alive. She begins shaking him excitedly, boasting about her win, leaving him to try and stop her frantic celebration, awkwardly begging her to fix her sagging clothes first. She looks down, confused by his sudden plea, only to see her pants pulled around her ankles. This realization hits her with a wave of embarrassment, followed by a piercing scream for him to look away. Mortified, she drags the flustered boy toward his apartment. Hayagi screams at Wuju, asking if he has lost his mind, but he can only stare at his completely trashed apartment, a mess that makes her realize she is in deep trouble. Elsewhere, a cat-eared girl collapses from exhaustion in the rain, feeling like she is about to die right on her own couch. Suddenly, her spirits lift as she spots something amazing, just as Wuju and Hayagi arrive back at his place. This cat-eared girl excitedly asks if he really captured the pig, praising him for finding a host while out for groceries. An angry Hayagi immediately gets defensive, demanding to know who this girl is, and at that moment food containers clatter to the floor. A new blonde girl stands in the doorway, utterly stunned, as she and Hayagi demand to know why the other is here. A smirk crosses Hayagi's face, realizing the rumors were true, while the cat girl simply eyes the dropped food. This cat girl tries to ferociously bite open a container, while the boy desperately tries to explain the situation. He recounts the entire bizarre series of events, but his explanation is not landing with the blonde girl, and the pink-haired girl scoffs at the whole idea, demanding to know why she is even involved. In response, the pig's spirit zips right through her. As Hayagi confirms everything they have said is true, this girl's body suddenly begins to swell, leaving her panicking and begging to be changed back. Just as quickly, the spell reverses, sending her falling, landing right in the lap of the stunned boy. Outside, her scream is mysteriously muted by the rain, and Hayagi then asks about the host from school. He confirms it is Min Jihyun, a quiet library volunteer. Wuju insists the library volunteer is not usually so violent, admitting he does not actually know her that well, but his memory is of a kind, smiling girl. This blonde girl listens with a skeptical eye. As Wuju slams his hand down, ready to make a plan, this cat girl concludes she must be the host for the sheep. A moment of thought crosses her face, followed by a sly grin as she proposes a new strategy, dubbing it the Shepherd Boy Operation. Meanwhile, at the school library, Min Jihyun works quietly, looking completely absorbed in her task. Until a sudden voice makes her jump in surprise. It is Wuju, who has approached her while she is crouched down. She looks up, appearing perfectly normal and unsuspecting, flashing back to a few hours earlier when the group planned this encounter. At school, Hayagi fumes over Min Jihyun's audacity, while the cat girl mocks her, claiming she was lured by food. Meanwhile, the blonde girl questions their shepherd operation, a plan the cat girl enthusiastically confirms. But Wuju nervously suggests a more peaceful approach, an idea that leaves both girls completely stunned. Even the school nurse and the blonde girl seem taken aback, and Hayagi explodes, calling him naive for not using force. He explains that her presence at school suggests a specific trigger. This cat girl grabs him, annoyed by his hesitation. She drags him off, insisting they have no time to waste, telling him to find a location while they stand by. Wuju is left alone, completely overwhelmed. His thoughts drift to Min Jihyun's strange return to school, wondering if she loses control without even realizing it. Wuju hopes he can resolve this with just a conversation, steeling himself to explain everything and ask her to join, but his confidence immediately wavers with a nervous sweat. As the library volunteer, Min Jihyun looks over questioningly. He is immediately overwhelmed, too awkward to speak face to face. But she recognizes him, asking if he is returning a book. Her eyes narrow when he mentions the weekend, though she feigns ignorance with a suspicious smile. Getting closer, he reminds her they met at Hayagi's house. Staring back, she quietly says his name, telling him he is standing way too close. He immediately recoils, stammering out an apology, while she hides her face, completely flustered by the closeness. Our boy realizes she is nothing like her powerful horned form, which gives him the idea to force her into the competition. He reaches out to tap her on the shoulder, too nervous to actually face her directly. This book for the sheep spirit is ready, and he mutters that it is time for it to join. Min Jihyun is startled by his sudden move as his hands suddenly grab her, leaving her completely shocked and blushing. Utterly confused, she can only stammer, finding herself pulled right against him. Wuju immediately panics, apologizing for the mistake. While she tries to calm him down, asking him to please let her go. Mortified, he leaps back with a scream. Realizing other students are now staring at them, to escape the scene, she suggests they talk another time. Wuju panics, convinced his attempt was a total failure. While back in a classroom, a door slides open. Several students turn in surprise to see who has arrived. It is Hayagi, back at school for the first time in days. Her classmates immediately express their concern for her, but she brushes it off with a nervous lie about being sick. Just then, Wuju comes sprinting down the hallway, bursting in to announce that he failed to lure the girl out. His face is a mask of pure desperation. As other students gossip about his sudden change in demeanor, one even speculates that he orchestrated his bully's accidents. Ignoring the chatter, Hayagi calls out to Wuju, demanding he explain what happened with their target. He admits he tried talking to her but could not get her to leave, yet Hayagi offers a surprising smile, praising him for trying. Wuju is left completely flustered by the encounter, as Hayagi praises his bravery for approaching the senior, but he is panicking internally from their sudden closeness, an interaction that does not go unnoticed by other students. Hayagi tells him to finish the job later, but he says it is difficult now, admitting he accidentally touched the senior's chest. She immediately erupts, grabbing his collar in a rage, then suddenly changes the subject, asking about someone named Rabin, explaining Beak Rabin has a meeting and will join them later. This scene shifts to the school infirmary, where a shout of disbelief echoes through the room. As the cat girl learns he tried to force Min Jihyun to join, Wuju explains she seemed normal so he thought it would work. But the cat girl questions why his plan failed so spectacularly, leaving Hayagi to scoff, impatiently asking when Beak Rabin will arrive. This school nurse announces she has a meeting, leaving the group wondering what to do next. Suddenly, a phone buzzes with a notification, startling Wuju as he checks the screen. It is a message from Min Jihyun asking to meet. He excitedly declares the Shepherd Boy operation is back on. While elsewhere, Rabin's student meeting finally concludes. This other students complain about how late it has got, and she realizes the meeting took longer than expected. A moment of thought crosses her face. Before she pulls out her phone to check for updates, she sees a message from Wuju about the meeting, wondering if his plan actually succeeded. As she heads out, a voice suddenly calls her name, making her turn around in surprise. Min Jihyun approaches the blonde girl, asking for her by name. A startled Beak Rabin confirms her identity. Wondering why this senior student is here and not behind the school, this library volunteer stands over her with an imposing presence, inviting her for a private chat in the library. A strange hook is visible near Min Jihyun's shoe, as she repeats the invitation with a knowing smile. This sudden request leaves the blonde girl stunned, but she nervously agrees while hiding her phone behind her back. She is secretly typing a message to the others. While elsewhere, the cat girl yawns, bored from waiting. An impatient Hayagi wonders where the sheep is, shaking Wuju and demanding to know what is taking so long. He holds up his phone just as a notification arrives, a frantic text from Rabin announcing she is with the sheep. Hayagi and the cat girl read the garbled message from Rabin's phone, immediately grabbing Wuju and pulling him into a desperate sprint. She explains the typos mean Rabin was either incredibly rushed, or, as the cat girl adds, she sensed danger and texted secretly. This team races across the school grounds toward the library, arriving at the glass doors just moments later. Hayagi smashes through them with a powerful kick, sending Wuju flying. Landing inside, he frantically calls out for Rabin, only to find a shocking scene in the stacks, Min Jihyun holding her. Our boy's eyes widen in utter disbelief. As the horned spirit leans in close, her own eyes glowing ominously. This entire group is frozen, completely stunned by the sight. Wuju finally shouts, demanding to know what is happening. Rabin's expression remains vacant, her eyes unfocused, and then her body goes limp as she collapses to the floor. In the library, Min Jihyun looms over a defeated Beak Rabin, her eyes glowing with a sinister purple light. This cat girl arrives, her face a mask of pure shock. With a cry, she charges forward on Hayagi's command. Realizing the sheep has stolen the rabbit's divine power, Beak Rabin slumps against the bookshelf, completely drained. Undeterred, the cat girl leaps in for a desperate attack, but is immediately blasted back by a vortex of dark energy. Min Jihyun's hands crackle with immense power as massive horns erupt from her head. She reveals her true, terrifying form, her gaze cold and utterly dominant. Just then, Wuju bursts in, screaming Rabin's name. Finding her on the ground with half her power stolen, he helps the weakened girl to her feet. Before her, Min Jihyun reveals her true, horned form, leaving the blonde girl completely frozen in fear. This scene cuts back to their meeting just moments before, where Rabin nervously asked what the senior wanted. Min Jihyun cuts straight to the point, asking about her group, accusing them of hunting the culprit behind the school incidents. A nervous Rabin tries to play dumb, asking if that is a problem, but the senior's silence fills the empty library. Her eyes glowing, she calmly admits she is the one they are looking for. This sudden confession leaves Rabin utterly speechless. Revealing she knew Rabin was spying on her before, her gaze locks onto the girl, calling her out by name. Confirming Rabin's worst fear, she was caught from the start. Min Jihyun leans in, offering a direct warning, telling her to stay out of her way. Beak Rabin is left completely stunned by the turn of events, as Min Jihyun recalls being warned to stay away from Hayagi. A sinister inner voice offers to punish her troublemakers for her. In the sunlit library, their confrontation finally begins. Rabin tries to reason with the senior, sensing she is not thinking clearly, explaining the 12 Zodiac tournament and her spirit possession. She insists this spirit is the cause of her recent odd behavior. But Min Jihyun dismisses it all as some kind of delusion. Still, Rabin questions why she continues to protect certain people. Frustrated, Min Jihyun gets up to leave, refusing to talk further, while Rabin pleads for her to join Wuju and end this. A dark energy flares in her eyes as she pauses. Rabin shouts at her not to run away from the truth, realizing she might have to use force after all. But a sudden development leaves her completely baffled. Min Jihyun scoffs at the idea of running away, her hand dropping as she questions the accusation. She turns toward the library doors as if to leave, but a sinister energy suddenly takes over her completely. A terrified Rabin recoils, sensing the immense danger, immediately turning to flee the now hostile library. With a flash of purple light in her eyes, Min Jihyun moves, instantly closing the distance and grabbing Rabin from behind. This possessed senior demands to know why she is protecting Hayagi, while Rabin insists this path of revenge is wrong. Her words are thrown back at her with a painful twist, as Min Jihyun brings up the bullying Wuju endured. This revelation shocks Rabin to her very core, who desperately shouts that Wuju would never want this. This name makes Min Jihyun clench her teeth, her resolve hardening. Min Jihyun pins Rabin down, her purple eyes glowing. She taunts the girl about her connection to Wuju, mocking their close living situation with a sinister whisper. With Rabin trapped, she prepares to ask a pointed question, demanding to know what she truly thinks about Wuju. A chilling smile spreads across her face, probing Rabin's feelings, but the girl frantically denies it, insisting they are just friends. Her desperate claims are met with even more pressure. Suddenly, Min Jihyun pulls her into a tight embrace, saying it is a relief. Then comes the shocking confession, "I like him." Her expression twists into obsession as she screams her love for Wuju, leaving Rabin to realize the attacks were all for his sake. Min Jihyun then offers a strange proposal. This blonde girl is left completely speechless by this turn of events. As the senior offers to join their group if Rabin accepts her deal, Min Jihyun threatens to destroy Hayagi if her offer is refused, leaving Rabin cornered, desperately trying to think of an escape. She bites her lip, making a silent, pained decision. At that moment, a massive crash echoes from the entrance. As Wuju catches the cat girl sent tumbling into the library, this sudden commotion startles Rabin from her thoughts, but Min Jihyun simply puts a finger to her lips with a smile, telling her to think it over before vanishing into thin air. Left alone, the blonde girl collapses to the floor, defeated. She can only wonder what the senior's true plan is. A heavy silence falls over the empty room, this afternoon sun casting long shadows through the window. Suddenly, Hayagi and the cat girl rush in, calling out to her, finding Wuju already there helping the shaken Rabin up, who immediately panics at his unexpected touch. This cat girl confirms Rabin is stable despite losing half her power, leaving Wuju to wonder why the theft was incomplete this time. A flashback to Min Jihyun makes Rabin suspect the attack was intentional, prompting the cat girl to press her for any theories. A flustered Rabin claims her own fierce resistance saved her, but her excuse is met with a silent, unconvinced stare. Shrugging it off, the cat girl declares their current strength is enough to proceed. She immediately restarts the shepherding operation, issuing strict orders for the team. As their footsteps echo through the sunlit school corridor, Wuju carries the weakened Rabin toward a hiding place. Outside, Min Jihyun suddenly leaps into the air, moving with supernatural speed and grace. Her eyes lock onto a window high up on the building, where Hayagi spots her and panics, completely unprepared for this. This cat girl, however, just offers a sly, confident grin. This cat girl yanks Hayagi into a reckless leap from the window, landing hard on the pavement to confront Min Jihyun, who simply turns and flees, initiating the chase. Both girls give pursuit at full speed through the streets. As the cat girl analyzes their target's powerful abilities, she knows the sheep's headbutt is only effective one-on-one. With a plan in mind, she orders Hayagi to split off, leaving the pig girl momentarily stunned by the command. But Min Jihyun seems to anticipate their every move. This gambit is to force her to chase the easier target, letting Hayagi act as bait to lure her into their trap. A nervous Hayagi steels herself, trusting her teammates, and leads the chase toward an empty storage room, where Wuju and the weakened Rabin lie in wait. Alone now, Hayagi sprints down the corridor, the plan in motion. Hayagi sprints through the city streets, acting as bait, but she stops, confused when no one gives chase. Nearby, the cat girl waits silently in the open. As Min Jihyun approaches her from behind, a surprising move. This horned girl confronts her directly, questioning her motives. Her purple eyes glow with malice, dismissing the cat girl as an annoyance. Who mocks her in return, confident Min Jihyun is too weak to win alone. Calling it a fatal miscalculation, the cat girl lunges into an attack. She soars through the air, already declaring her victory. But Min Jihyun reveals a different plan, disdaining brute force, tossing a small, glowing object towards her mid-leap. This cat girl's eyes widen in shock as the object bursts open, sending her crashing to the ground, completely immobilized. Min Jihyun looms over her, taunting her with the strange new sensation, revealing her secret weapon, a potent dose of catnip. This cat girl is incapacitated by a dose of catnip. As Min Jihyun walks away, leaving her opponent neutralized, completely disoriented, the cat girl cannot even stand. Meanwhile, Hayagi patrols the school grounds alone, spotting Wuju and Rabin hiding just around the corner. Wuju urgently asks about Min Jihyun and the cat girl, but Hayagi has no idea, panicking that Nenah is missing. A sudden, chilling presence makes her freeze, as a terrifying, horned shadow looms directly behind her. Hayagi whirls around to face Min Jihyun, ready for a fight, but is immediately struck with blinding speed, a brutal kick sending her flying through the air. She slams into the pavement, completely overpowered, while Min Jihyun launches herself forward for another attack, crashing down with a final, devastating strike. A distorted memory flashes through Hayagi's mind. A student cries out in pain, begging her tormentors to stop, while another girl is brutally bullied in the same classroom. A younger Hayagi watches in complete shock, stunned by the cruelty, her hand trembling as she waits for an ally named Nenah to arrive. Elsewhere, a pink-haired girl lies helpless on the floor, looked down upon by a cold, unforgiving gaze. A hand suddenly grabs her by the hair, yanking her up, forcing a pained cry from the captured girl. Meanwhile, Hayagi steels herself, determined to endure for a surprise attack, recalling a time she was the one being bullied, hiding under a desk, this memory of being taunted still stinging her. Min Jihyun's voice echoes, asking the bully if she finally understands pain, and the girl breaks, admitting she was wrong about everything. Jihyun looks down, her grim lesson finally delivered. This flashback continues, with Min Jihyun demanding a confession. She presses the girl for her motive in tormenting Wuju, her cold, unforgiving gaze showing absolutely no mercy. Terrified, the bully stammers, unable to form a response, as Jihyun holds her captive, completely in control. A younger Hayagi watches this brutal interrogation unfold, but Jihyun's patience is clearly wearing thin, threatening to escalate the punishment if she does not cooperate. She repeats her demand, making a dire threat, but the captive defiantly refuses to give up her secret. This story then flashes back further to a high school assembly day, where a lonely Hayagi worries about fitting in at her new school, until a small, kind gesture breaks her solitude. She turns in surprise to see who it is, finding a friendly classmate offering a simple greeting. In a flashback, Rabin chats with Wuju in their classroom, while a boy with glasses notices a quiet girl nearby, who is immediately captivated by Rabin's presence. He asks his classmate about Rabin's unique hair, and she explains Rabin has always been popular and well-liked, revealing their families are close, not them personally. This boy then encourages her, saying a new style would suit her, leaving the girl completely flustered by the kind words. She nervously clutches a snack in her lap before offering a piece to the boy as thanks. Just then, Rabin and Wuju approach their desk, and Rabin cheerfully invites her to the cafeteria, causing a panic. But the girl remains frozen at her desk, left behind. Overwhelmed by the social pressure, she bites her nails, this all happening on the first day of the new semester. A flashback begins, showing a startled Wuju in a school hallway. He turns to see a pink-haired girl standing behind him, who offers a shy and hopeful greeting. She internally denies changing her appearance just for him, but her efforts are wasted as he fails to recognize her. Wuju finally realizes it is Rabin, leaving her completely stunned. At that moment, Hayagi arrives, playfully taking his arm, causing the overlooked Rabin to clench her fist in frustration. She makes a silent vow to get his attention, no matter the cost. This scene shifts back to the present, where a captive is brutally interrogated, thrown to the ground with overwhelming force. She resolves to keep silent, refusing to involve Wuju, terrified that he is hiding nearby and might overhear everything. Suddenly, a glowing mark is seared onto her skin. As Min Jihyun looms over her branded victim, her task complete. In a flashback, a younger Hayagi trembles on her knees, desperately begging a rabbit-eared girl for forgiveness. She offers to be beaten if it will make things right, but the girl's cold gaze shows no mercy. This rabbit-eared fighter dismisses the apology as useless, deciding she needs to consult with the cat girl instead. Back in the present, Min Jihyun turns from the defeated Hayagi, but Hayagi grabs her ankle, refusing to give up. Thinking of her friends, she desperately offers to talk. Nearby, Rabin watches, her hand tightening with resolve, telling a stunned Wuju to prepare for action. As Hayagi begins to confess why she targeted him, Wuju watches, confused by Rabin's sudden plan. Rabin suddenly steps forward, declaring she will handle it, her expression set with a new, unexpected determination. Min Jihyun turns with a cold, determined look, a sinister smile spreading across her face, while Wuju sees his chance, believing he has distracted her, and he lunges forward to make his move, grabbing Jihyun from behind in a desperate hold, but he is stunned to see her smiling at his touch. Suddenly, a blinding flash of purple light erupts from them, leaving Wuju completely disoriented and confused. As the scene shifts to the cat girl waiting impatiently, finding Wuju waking up on a bench with no memory, clutching his head, unable to recall any of the recent events, and horrified by his own forgotten actions towards a classmate, who tries to explain, but a sheep-like ghost appears beside him, making him wonder if possession caused their rampage. As the cat girl reveals, Jihyun also remembers nothing of the fight. Overcome with remorse, Hayagi apologizes for her terrible past actions. But Rabin dismisses her tears as Wuju tries to offer comfort. He takes her hands, promising to help her atone for everything. As the cat girl smirks, pleased to have recruited a new ally, with the conflict seemingly resolved, she cheerfully leads the group away. Elsewhere, a blonde student is stopped by an unseen figure, while a voice suddenly calls out to Rabin in the present, who turns to find the girl Jihyun interrogated standing there. Her eyes glow with a familiar purple malice, reminding Rabin of a promise. This blonde student watches the tense standoff, completely terrified, but her fear quickly turns into a look of grim determination. Later that night, the scene shifts to a quiet apartment complex, lingering on the door to apartment 801, where the possessed girl has just arrived home. She stands alone in her apartment, the day's dark work now done. A backpack drops heavily onto the wooden floor. Its owner huddled in a corner, surrounded by photos, breaking down into quiet, hiccuping sobs. Her grief echoes in the otherwise silent room, as a small spirit companion watches on, clearly concerned. This desk nearby is littered with more blacked-out photographs, but the girl's sorrow twists into a disturbing, obsessive smile, remembering a moment when she was embraced. This room is revealed to be an unsettling shrine to Wuju. Meanwhile, Wuju worries if Jihyun made it back safely, but Rabin snaps him out of it, annoyed he is worried about their enemy. He asks if it is true Jihyun was possessed, turning to Rabin for confirmation. Calling her name again, he startles her into a quick agreement, leaving Wuju frustrated that everyone is siding with a madwoman. A sudden memory flashes of a girl being completely overpowered. A sudden blush spreads across Hayagi's face, as Wuju takes her hand, asking if she is low on power. His innocent explanation is that he was just recharging her, leaving Hayagi completely stunned and flustered by the gesture. She suddenly bolts, making a flimsy excuse to leave him behind. This scene shifts to an earlier moment with Rabin and Wuju, until Nenah appears, sensing something is amiss. Claiming she has business to attend to, Nenah leaps away into the night, her sudden departure leaving them both confused. Elsewhere, a lone figure takes a breath in a dark alley. Blue energy begins to gather between his hands, swirling and growing more intense with every moment. From the shadows, a mysterious observer with a glowing eye watches, while the energy crackles ready to be unleashed. With a final surge, he fires the blast down at his target. A voice warns that the blast could have been fatal, revealing the attacker was the cat girl Nenah, who now confronts the 5th-ranked divine spirit, the dragon. He dismisses the rankings, noting her cold attitude has not changed, and Nenah is glad, seeing him as no threat to her ambition. Her confidence, however, just seems to bore the dragon. Having confirmed his position, she waves a casual goodbye, while he declares that helping others is simply his mission. This dragon watches her go, lost in silent thought, as Nenah scoffs at his old-fashioned sense of duty, a vision of her past self reminding her of her own struggles. But she angrily pushes the memory away. From behind, the dragon lets out a quiet sigh, calling out her meddling as she walks into the night, a look of weary resignation on his face. A horned man warns that a single person threatens his plans. Elsewhere, Rabin and Wuju walk home through a quiet street, and she reminisces about how long it has been since they have done this. Rabin recounts the week's bizarre events, from rabbit ears to a talking cat, before blurting out that a senior stole her first kiss, leaving them both in an awkward, blushing silence. Wuju breaks the tension, asking about her confrontation with Jihyun, recalling her bold declaration to handle the fight herself. Flustered, she quickly dismisses his question as nothing important, trying to turn the conversation back to him instead. Nervously, she brings up the subject of the kiss, but a sudden scream echoes from a nearby apartment building, where Hayagi stands outside, startled by the noise. She heads upstairs, wondering why Wuju is late for school, bursting into his apartment demanding answers only to stop in shock. Wuju calls out to Rabin, his appearance completely transformed, and she screams in absolute shock at the sight of him, demanding to know why his hair grew so long overnight. This commotion wakes up Nenah, the cat girl, who listens as Wuju apologizes for the noise. She suddenly grabs his chin, inspecting his new face intently, leaving him flustered as she gets dangerously close. Her cat-like eyes widen with a sudden realization. As Rabin watches the strange encounter from the doorway, he quickly changes the subject, panicking that a spirit possessed him. But Nenah admits she has no idea what is happening either. She then suggests there is someone else who might have answers. Her finger points directly at a stunned Rabin, while a mysterious voice explains the judge's power is growing stronger. As more join the tournament, Rabin's own power begins to manifest. Wuju questions why nothing has changed with his new allies, but he is warned that every new animal will now transform him. This is all part of becoming a judge for the Zodiac tournament, and he turns to Nenah for help, but she seems suddenly unwell. Worried, he reaches out to check her temperature. His touch sends a powerful jolt right through her, launching her cat form across the room in a chaotic frenzy. Utterly confused, Wuju wonders if she needs a doctor or a vet, while Hayagi notices something different about him. He nervously asks how he looks in his school uniform, now standing noticeably taller than he was just moments before. Hayagi confirms his once baggy uniform now fits him perfectly, urging him to hurry so they are not late for school. They arrive at the bustling high school campus, where a crowd of students murmurs in disbelief at his new appearance. Hayagi stares up at Wuju, questioning his overnight transformation, as the entire class is stunned by his handsome new look. Stammering, she points, barely able to believe it is really him, and in disbelief, she marvels at his sudden growth spurt. Other students whisper as a blush creeps across her face, prompting her to shield Wuju from the gawking crowd, but her classmates recall how she used to bully him just last week, an accusation she ignores, dragging him away to a private spot. In the quiet stairwell, she finally confronts him directly, getting close to ask if a spirit caused this change. She complains about the unfairness of his glow-up, leaning in closer. Wuju suddenly grabs her, telling her to stop, his own face flushing as he admits the closeness is making him itch, leaving Hayagi completely taken aback by his adorable reaction. She scolds him for being so flustered over something so small. A sudden flashback reveals a tense moment in a warehouse, where a flustered Rabin faces a younger Wuju who seems just as stunned by the situation. Back in the present, Wuju tries to lighten the mood, telling her that what happened was not her fault, and he promises to protect her in the future, leaving Rabin utterly speechless and blushing, as she stammers, completely thrown by his declaration, then dismisses him, calling him a loser to hide her feelings. He is left confused by her sudden outburst, while another student gawks at his transformation. Rabin mutters to herself, resolving to protect him instead, until Hayagi suddenly calls out her name from behind, asking what she thinks about Wuju and clarifying if she sees him as more than just a friend. Hayagi scoffs at the idea of dating Wuju unless he matures. A sudden blush, however, reveals her own conflicted feelings, so she quickly makes an excuse about being hungry to run off. Rabin watches her go, a thoughtful expression on her face. While in class, other students gossip about Wuju's new appeal. His sudden height has apparently made him an undervalued stock, but Rabin knows his real charm runs deeper than his looks. Her thoughts are interrupted by someone asking for a favor. It is the obsessed girl, demanding Rabin help her get with Wuju. She holds Rabin close in the empty library, leaving her stunned, her glowing eyes burning with a passionate confession of love. Back at her desk, Rabin sighs in weary resignation. Later, the sun sets on another chaotic day, and Wuju complains they still have not found a new spirit host. He asks if she knows anyone with a connection to her, but she draws a blank. Rabin wonders aloud if she is connected to someone from her past, her expression hardening as she considers the possibility. She suddenly turns to Wuju with a shocking question. Asking if he is that Lee Wuju from long ago, a memory surfaces of them as children waiting on a street corner. From a nearby van, a blonde woman suddenly appears, rushing over to Wuju amazed at how much he has grown. She pulls him into a surprise embrace, planting a kiss on his cheek, leaving both Wuju and Rabin completely stunned by the gesture. This woman, Woo-hee, smiles, calling him her little Wuju, while Rabin can only stare in disbelief at the sudden reunion. Woo-hee then turns her attention to Rabin, asking if she is his girlfriend, creating an awkward standoff in the middle of the quiet street. Rabin is floored, realizing Wuju has an older sister and a foreigner, her mind racing as she tries to understand who this woman truly is. Woo-hee sizes up Rabin, asking if she is Wuju's girlfriend, but a flustered Rabin stammers, completely denying the accusation. She turns to Wuju, demanding to know who this person is. He awkwardly greets his sister, wondering how long it has been, who confirms it has been over a decade since they last met. A flashback begins, revealing he used to visit his sister Woo-hee in the countryside, where a lonely young Wuju had no friends his age. His attention is caught by a cow in a nearby pen, a sight that leaves the young boy completely captivated, until a sudden voice startles him, revealing Woo-hee was his only friend. He is shocked to find a young, foreign-looking girl speaking Korean with a dialect, and she cheerfully introduces herself as Yu Woo-hee, offering her hand. This shy boy reaches out to accept her friendly gesture, later telling an old woman that this strange new girl must be an alien. This kind woman just smiles, asking if her little puppies are hungry. A flashback reveals Woo-hee's past at her shaman family's countryside home, where she and her grandmother cared for a young Wuju. He remembers them hiding under the covers at night, secretly playing video games together. Their grandmother would often catch them, scolding them to go to sleep, forcing the two kids to quickly pretend they were already dreaming. Another memory surfaces of them playing in a river, her bright laughter filling the summer air. Wuju remembers watching her with pure adoration, but their fun is suddenly cut short by an accident. She gets a small, bloody cut on her hand. Worried, he asks if she is okay, but she just brushes it off, so he insists on carrying her back to their grandmother's house. His selfless offer leaves her completely stunned, and he gives her a piggyback ride all the way home. A memory surfaces of a young Wuju carrying his sister Woo-hee, but even then a quiet sadness lingered in her eyes. Then one day, as their vacation ended, he ran to find her, bursting through the door with an excited greeting, only to be met with a confusing, empty silence. He found her room completely abandoned, and his grandmother delivered the news Woo-hee had disappeared. Back in the present, he explains she supposedly went to America just as she hugs him from behind, lost in nostalgia, leaving Rabin completely stunned by the sudden intimacy. Wuju awkwardly agrees they were like siblings, but his blushing face reveals this feels different now. She apologizes for leaving without a word, sparking his concern. As he asks about the medical treatment she was receiving, she playfully scolds him for the interrogation, her cheerful energy catching him off guard. Woo-hee reminisces about bathing him as a baby, leaving him mortified, and she comments on how manly he looks now after all these years. While Rabin watches the awkward reunion from the side, Woo-hee then drops a bombshell: she is moved into the neighborhood. This news hangs in the air as they stand in the narrow alley, prompting a shocked Rabin to ask why she chose this specific place. Suddenly, Wuju's mother appears, greeting Woo-hee warmly, and the two women embrace like long-lost friends. His mother offers to introduce Woo-hee to the landlord, who promises they will be seeing each other much more often. Wuju and Rabin are left standing alone, completely stunned, until Rabin turns to him with a sudden, dawning horror, realizing their close childhood bond makes his sister a candidate for the giver. Her mind races with the dangerous new possibility. As Wuju steels himself, ready to move forward, Wuju walks home, completely bewildered by the reunion, tossing his bag down the moment he gets inside. Meanwhile, the obsessed girl stands in her room, stealing her nerves, a determined blush spreading across her face. She nervously fiddles with her phone, ready to make a call, her eyes filled with a desperate resolve. At her desk, Rabin's phone suddenly starts to ring, and she answers with a single, weary question. Why? This girl on the other end stammers, asking when they can meet, but Rabin coldly addresses her as senior, shutting her down. Elsewhere, a cat-eared girl relaxes on her bed, deep in thought, recalling how Rabin's appearance changed with her awakened power. With a confident smile, she announces her return to the world, surprising Wuju as she asks about the other divine hosts. And he lifts his shirt, a new possibility suddenly dawning on him. Rabin is suddenly struck by a flustering thought as Wuju wonders if the giver could be someone far away. He tries to get her attention, calling out to Nenah, but she is completely lost in a daze, her mind spinning. In a panic, she bolts away in her full cat form, and Wuju snags her midair, confused by the chaos. Her dazed expression only adds to his frustration, so he struggles to restrain the frantic cat. A sudden poof of smoke fills the room, leaving her back in human form, pinning him to the floor. This sudden proximity leaves them both breathless and flustered, until he realizes her energy must have built up. She stammers, trying to deny what he is implying, but their compromising position tells a different story, and her blushing face reveals the truth of her condition. A cat girl's eyes widen with worry about her new territory. She is startled when Wuju suddenly kneels beside her, who suggests a walk to help her relieve some stress. leaving her frozen on the floor in a daze. Instead, she asks to learn about the world directly from him, a proposal that leaves the girl Nenah completely flustered. He explains they both need a break from their long search, and his kindness resonates deeply within her. Wuju then points out her cat ears and tail are still visible, a shocking revelation she had not even realized. He suggests she cover them so they can go out in public. But Nenah suddenly runs and slams a door behind her. Utterly confused, Wuju wonders what just happened, just as another hand turns the knob on his front door, revealing a mysterious figure entering the apartment. Wuhi playfully asks if he is finished yet, leaving Wuju completely flustered and at a loss for words. She happily skips away down the hall, her carefree energy catching him completely off guard. He can only watch, still trying to process her sudden return. With a bright smile, she beckons him to join her for a walk, and soon they are wandering through the quiet city at night, where she immediately grabs some ice cream, declaring she could never go back to a life without it. But her cheerful expression suddenly vanishes, leaving Wuju baffled by her unpredictable moods. He stares at his own reflection, lost in thought, his mind turning to the power of judgment and his 100-day limit, a constant string of unbelievable events weighing on him. And a terrifying vision of destruction he barely had time to fear. He is haunted by the vision of others getting hurt. This pressure of the future builds in his chest, but as he steels his resolve, a voice interrupts, pulling him back to the present moment on the street. It is Wu He, wondering why he has stopped walking, and he looks down to see his ice cream has melted. She playfully offers him a bite of hers instead, leaving our boy completely flustered by the gesture. He tries to brush it off, thinking he will just buy another, but his thoughts turn to Nenah, deciding to focus on her. To change the subject, he suggests they go clothes shopping, and Woohee marvels at the boutique before them. His true goal is getting some outfits for Nenah, a thoughtful plan that earns him some playful teasing. With a happy shout, she grabs his arm to lead the way. Wuju leads a reluctant Nenah through the city streets. He smiles, glad to see her acting like herself again. Their destination, a clothing boutique, a first for him. A cheerful shopkeeper immediately greets them inside, eagerly pulling Nenah deeper into the shop to look at outfits. A sudden worry hits Wuju about her ears being discovered, so he waits patiently outside the changing room, thinking she is done, only for her to emerge in a striking new outfit, followed by another style that suits her perfectly, and a third, even cuter outfit she seems to love. This whole ordeal leaves Wuju completely exhausted, but she insists he pay attention for one last outfit, and his eyes widen as he finally looks up, revealing Nenah in a simple but elegant dress, a sight that leaves him completely speechless and blushing. Wuju compliments her new dress, saying she looks like a normal student, but the cashier's massive bill snaps him back to reality. Panicked, he grabs Nenah and bolts from the store, leaving the clerk confused. And outside, he apologizes for not being able to afford it, when Nenah suddenly freezes in the middle of the street, her cat-like senses picking up a familiar scent. Wuju asks what is wrong as she wonders if it is a new believer, and she sprints towards a nearby convenience store, drawn by the unmistakable aroma of catnip on the shelf. Her eyes sparkle with pure delight at the discovery, so she reaches for a container on the top shelf, but her fingers just barely miss, knocking it over. This jar tumbles directly towards her face, until Wuju's hand snatches it from the air, and he stands behind her asking if she is all right. Wuju offers to take out the trash for her, but his simple kindness leaves Nenah completely stunned. A strange, hazy memory flashes through her mind, and she clutches her clothes, suddenly flustered. He tries to reassure her that everything is fine, but Nenah abruptly walks out, leaving him utterly confused. As they walk in the cold, he wonders what he did wrong, until she suddenly asks if an old place is still standing. His eyes land on a traditional village nearby, so Wuju suggests they go take a look. At the entrance, he asks for 2 student tickets, only to learn of a free admission event. This unexpected offer catches them both by surprise, leading them into the beautifully lit historical grounds, where she is soon dressed in an elegant traditional hanbok. Nenah looks down shyly, adjusting her new hanbok, admitting the traditional clothing feels a bit awkward, and Wuju agrees it is his first time since childhood, playfully asking for her opinion on his own outfit. A sudden gust of wind startles her, catching the headscarf covering her ears. It flies off into the night sky, revealing her secret to the surrounding crowd. This delicate fabric drifts away on the breeze, leaving Nenah to touch her head in sudden panic. Her only cover lands on a distant rooftop, and she watches in horror, completely helpless. Wuju calls out her name, seeing her distress, just as the scarf tumbles into the water below. Utterly defeated, she sinks to the ground. Wuju frantically tries to hide her cat ears, her own eyes widening in a sudden trance. He whispers that her ears are showing again, but she is lost in a memory, seeing someone else. This present begins to overlap with the past, overwhelming Nenah until she collapses to the ground. In her mind, she is kneeling alone in a past life, a desperate memory of being submerged in water, until a gentle presence startles her from despair, and she looks up to see a kind, white-haired man. This memory of his kindness fills her with pure joy. Snapping back to reality, Wuju is utterly baffled, but Nenah internally confirms he is not the same person. Her thoughts drift to a peaceful village from that time, and a sacred ancient tree that held special meaning. A memory flashes of 3,000 years past. Her expression hardens with ancient resolve, as she clutches a gem, vowing it is not over, a promise held across millennia. Through autumns long ago she waited, and through winters in a new, modern world. All of it was driven by the hope of a single wish, a vigil kept through countless seasons. Back in the present, Wuju's voice breaks the silence. his thoughts drifting to a familiar smile from his past. He gently adjusts her head covering, feeling a strange connection, a warmth that cuts through his own deep loneliness. This simple kindness overwhelms Nenah, a single tear escaping, and her quiet sob catches Wuju completely off guard, leaving her unable to hide her sudden, powerful emotions. Her cat-like eyes well up with tears. Wuju calls out as she suddenly walks away, and Nenah clutches her chest, overcome with emotion. Under the full moon, the night grows heavy, casting long shadows over the traditional village. She sits alone by the water's edge, feeling utterly pitiful in her own reflection, a sight that worries Wuju from a distance. Suddenly, she leaps into the water, and he dives in right after her in a panic, only for her to surface, angry that he startled her. He covers his face, completely embarrassed by his mistake, while Nenah just stares, confused by his reaction. Our boy is left blushing and at a loss for words. And a quiet awkwardness settles between them. This awkward silence shatters with Nenah's sudden laughter. As she decides Wuju is not the man from her memories, he quietly wrings the water from his soaked hanbok, while Nenah shakes herself dry with startling, cat-like speed. Now completely dry, she grabs his arm, ready to explore again, blaming her earlier tears on a convenient pollen allergy. She spots an interesting building and dashes off without warning, leading him inside to an exhibit of ancient pottery. Her strange familiarity with old pipes raises his suspicion, but she quickly moves on, admiring a valuable cabinet. Wuju watches her, unable to read her sudden change in mood, and a strange feeling tightens in his chest as she points ahead, then darts away again, leaving him to call after her. Completely exhausted, his pursuit is interrupted by a crying child, whose mother mistakenly blames Wuju for the tears. A mother tries to console her crying child over a dropped ice cream, when an old woman advises her not to pressure the boy, sharing wisdom about letting emotions surface naturally. This prompts the child to finally apologize to his mother, who is surprised by his sudden hug and heartfelt words. This old woman's words about the heart resonate deeply with Wuju, making him realize he has been overlooking something important, and he admits he was too eager to understand Nenah's feelings. A familiar tightness grips his chest just thinking about her. Nenah's voice suddenly calls out, pulling him from his thoughts, and they continue their walk through the illuminated village. Inside a traditional shop, she asks about a strange object, so Wuju explains it is a mirror used for makeup, teasing her for not knowing something so common despite her age. Her flustered reaction makes him laugh as she playfully hits him. Wuju gently takes her hand, offering comfort. He reassures her that it is okay not to know things, and with a kind smile offers to answer any questions she has. Leaving Nenah completely flustered by his sincerity, he promises they can learn about this new world together, a vow that extends even after her wish is fulfilled. His heartfelt words leave her completely stunned and speechless. To break the heavy mood, she suggests they go get something to eat. They leave the quiet, traditional village behind them, eventually arriving back at Wuju's apartment building. But from the shadows, a blonde girl watches them, conflicted, her eyes widening in shock to see them together so late. This pair walks inside, completely oblivious to her presence, and suspecting a romance, she decides she cannot wait any longer. Stepping from the darkness, she calls out his name, startling them both. A flustered girl struggles to get her words out, leaving Wuju completely confused by her question. As she shyly asks if he wants to go on a date, back in the present, he apologizes for returning the wet clothes, before the scene shifts to a bright amusement park where a dark-haired girl waits nervously by a fountain, worrying that she spent 2 hours choosing her outfit. She admits she barely got any sleep from the excitement, until her eyes suddenly light up as she calls out to her senior, her face flushing with surprise and anticipation. Wuju arrives, looking a little startled himself, and she stammers a greeting, shocked by how much he has changed. She points out he is early for their meeting time, but an awkward silence falls over the park. He finally breaks it with a hesitant question. They both stammer, awkwardly telling the other to speak first, and she looks up at him, ready to break the silence, her cheeks flushing with nervous anticipation, a blush that Wuju mirrors completely. She smiles, playfully encouraging him to say what is on his mind. But a furious shout suddenly calls out Nenah's name, revealing a chaotic scene of his friends running wild nearby. Nenah is happily devouring a stolen piece of cotton candy, while its rightful owner demands she give it back, and another friend tries desperately to quiet them all down. Her attempt at peace earns a terrifying glare from Nenah, leaving the blonde girl frozen in absolute shock. Wuju sheepishly explains this is why he was almost late. As the scene cuts to a tense accusation about the subway ride, but back in the park, Nenah just grabs his arm, eager to explore. This scene cuts to a cheerful blonde girl running ahead of Wuju and Nenah, then to another girl entirely, nervously asking someone to wait. A menacing figure with glowing purple eyes delivers a dark warning, causing the girl to scream in absolute terror. Back at the amusement park, a story begins to unfold. It flashes back to the night the blonde girl stepped from the shadows, her hands clasped as she nervously prepares to speak. While Wuju waits, completely unaware of what is coming, she finally asks him if he wants to go on a date, a question that stuns both him and a confused Nenah. Seeing their shock, the girl quickly tries to take it back, claiming a senior gave her tickets as an apology. He seems to accept the excuse as she laughs it off, but her hopeful eyes press him for an answer anyway, leaving Wuju to question what she really means. This blonde girl hesitantly agrees to the date, but Wuju immediately suggests calling a senior. Thinking a group outing would be much more fun, he excitedly plans the trip, oblivious to the awkwardness. while Nenah asks what an amusement park even is. At a loss for words, Wuju tries his best to explain, describing thrilling rides like a swinging ship and another that climbs high before dropping suddenly. This concept immediately excites Nenah, who declares it sounds fun, so he happily suggests inviting even more friends along. This suggestion only deepens the blonde girl's quiet despair, yet she forces a smile, promising to arrange all the details. Later at the park, a pink-haired girl offers to help Wuju on a ride, while internally marking another girl, Min Jihyun, as a rival, vowing to protect the oblivious Wuju from her schemes. A confident girl with pink hair tells Wuju to move aside, but her bravado fades as she struggles with the ride's controls, and she is startled to see someone else has joined them. A hand suddenly grips the steering wheel, revealing Hayagi with glowing eyes, enjoying the sudden power shift. This pink-haired girl glares back, shocked by this turn of events. With a sudden jolt, the ride spins completely out of control, throwing the girl right into Wuju's arms as he yells Hayagi's name. And she stammers an apology, flustered by the accidental closeness. Elsewhere, Nenah and a blonde girl comment on the park's oversized cups. This day continues around a beautiful sunlit carousel, where someone carefully frames the perfect shot of a rider, capturing a picture of Hayagi posing elegantly on her horse, only for the pink-haired girl to gleefully photobomb the moment. From a distance, the blonde girl lowers her phone, having captured it all. This blonde girl watches the day's chaos unfold, completely stunned, as a silent war of nerves plays out between Jihyun and Hayagi on the carousel. Their next stop is a terrifying ghost house filled with distant screams. Here, a secret operation between Jihyun and the blonde girl begins. Inside the darkness, Wuju is blind, but one of the girls claims she can see perfectly, revealing two pairs of supernaturally glowing eyes in the pitch black. A power that lets them see far too well in the haunted halls. Taking the lead, Wuju confidently tells everyone to follow him, which leaves Jihyun completely swooning at his sudden bravery. From the shadows, a haunted house actor watches, jealous of Wuju, and vows to use his acting skills to humiliate the group. But Nenah's sinister power begins to manifest nearby. A sudden jump scare makes Wuju scream, startled by the glowing eyes beside him. And after being chased out, he wonders why they never saw a single ghost. Shaking it off, the group heads over to the bumper cars for their next ride. Nenah sits awkwardly in the bumper car, completely bewildered, while Wuju wonders if he is even driving it correctly. He laughs, playfully teasing her for her confusion. Nearby, Min Jihyun sits ready in her own car, catching Wuju completely off guard with her presence. Their cars drift side by side in a moment of quiet, and she suggests they can crash a little harder. A sudden impact sends her reeling from a blindside hit. Wuju asks if she is alright, but her eyes glow with rage. From another car, Hayagi smirks, echoing the same reckless words, leaving Min Jihyun absolutely seething with fury. Her angry gaze shifts towards a stunned Wuju, but Hayagi declares it is Payback, ramming his car instead, and the two of them erupt into laughter, enjoying the chaotic chase. While a shocked Min Jihyun can only watch from afar. On the bumper cars, the friends playfully chase each other down. Later, they stop for a treat at a snow ice stand, where a girl in overalls teases Hayagi for going all out, while others rest on a bench, surprised at how much fun everyone's having. This blonde girl, wearing bunny ears, enjoys her snack, blushing as she tries to play it cool by calling it basic fun. A new ride with a short line suddenly catches their attention, and the whole group excitedly rushes toward the entrance, leaving Min Jihyun standing alone, looking left out. At the ride's platform, one of the guys panics about getting on, though his friend tries to reassure him, looking nervous himself. A silent rivalry sparks between Min Jihyun and the braided girl, who makes her move, trying to ask Wuju to ride with her. But Min Jihyun yanks her back with a dark warning to stop. Ignoring her, the girl calls out to Wuju, who is already seated. A direct question puts Wuju on the spot. He is completely caught off guard by the sudden choice, and with another girl sitting with Nenah, he must decide. His mind drifts to Hayagi, leaving Jihyun crestfallen. Hayagi panics as Jihyun's hope visibly fades. Suddenly, Jihyun makes a clumsy excuse to leave, insisting they ride the roller coaster without her. She walks away alone, escaping the awkward situation, while the massive roller coaster looms in the background. This scene shifts to Min Jihyun confronting Hayagi directly, asking when she started to have feelings for Wuju. But the story that unfolds is Jihyun's own, revealing a flashback to her lonely childhood with powerful parents, a family that had everything except affection for their child. Her birthday gift was a credit card and a cold note, leaving her utterly abandoned. Jihyun's flashback continues, showing her alone in a vast, empty home, and her life at school was just as isolated. Always on the outside as other students made plans without her. In the library, she realized she was not the only outcast. A quiet boy bumps into her, apologizing excessively for the small mistake, and she began to see him there every day, a fellow loner. One evening, she finds herself overwhelmed by a massive pile of books to sort. She decides to finish the work tomorrow, turning to leave, but sees that same quiet boy arriving at the library door. He seems to reach out, about to offer help, but quickly pulls back, deciding it would be meddling. He walks away, leaving her to her task. This next morning, Jihyun panics, realizing she overslept, and rushes to the library expecting to be scolded, only to stop in her tracks, completely stunned by what she finds. A quiet library is found mysteriously organized, leaving the young librarian completely stunned. A kind note on a returned book offers a clue, and she quickly finds the borrower's name, Wuju. His photo in the system brings a curious smile to her face. This scene shifts back to Jihyun, who once wanted to know everything about him, until she realized his kindness was not just for her. A heartbreaking truth that dawned on her at the park. She tells her friend Rabin that she has given up on him, but Rabin clenches her jaw, furious at her friend's defeat. Enough for what? She shouts, refusing to let it go, scolding her for expecting the clueless Wuju to understand. Grabbing Jihyun by the shoulders, she issues a command, giving her one final chance to confess her feelings to him. Jihyun can only stammer, shocked by the sudden ultimatum. Jihyun is grabbed, pressured to confess her feelings. This blonde girl insists she must tell Wuju everything, but Jihyun panics, having never done anything like this before. Her friend stresses that this is her one and only chance, promising to create the perfect opportunity for her to act. Elsewhere, a dizzy Nenah questions humanity's strange inventions. While Wuju explains to Hayagi that she is just a cat, not a god, this blonde girl spots them, waving Jihyun over to the group, leaving Jihyun blushing with nervous anticipation. Wuju approaches, asking if she found what she was looking for, and an awkward silence hangs between them after her quiet reply. He misunderstands, relieved she did not lose an object in the park. Suddenly, the sound of a parade fills the air, and the two of them turn to watch the celebration begin. As colorful performers and mascots dance through the street, a boy with two-toned hair suggests they watch the parade together. But Jihyun shyly asks to ride the Ferris wheel alone with him, a direct request that leaves the boy completely stunned. Elsewhere, the blonde girl watches Jihyun, feeling guilty about before. With a gentle smile, the boy agrees to her private date. He tells the blonde girl, Rabin, that they are splitting off for the Ferris wheel, and Rabin silently cheers for Jihyun's sudden bravery, yet she questions her own heart, unsure of what she truly wants. Before the massive ride, Jihyun and the boy share a quiet, hopeful moment. As a conflicted Rabin watches them from a distance, she resolves to focus on supporting Jihyun's happiness for now. While nearby, a playful scuffle breaks out between two other friends. This braided girl suddenly asks Rabin where Wuju and Hayagi have gone, but Rabin feigns ignorance, claiming she does not know. Her evasiveness only deepens the braided girl's suspicion. This braided girl tickles Rabin relentlessly, demanding answers. Pinned to the ground, Rabin finally breaks, agreeing to talk. Meanwhile, high above the city, the Ferris wheel ride begins, trapping Jihyun and Wuju in a small, quiet space. An awkward silence hangs heavy between them. As neither one knows what to say next, these two stand apart, the distance feeling immense. Elsewhere, the braided girl grows frustrated, trying to listen in, and she accuses Rabin of scheming behind her back. She demands to know why Rabin is pushing Jihyun and Wuju together, forcing Rabin to confront her own reasons for helping. A flashback reveals her quiet truth. She is happy just watching him from afar. Her confident facade crumbles, revealing her inner conflict, leaving the braided girl completely confused by the reaction. With a look of deep sorrow, Rabin's true feelings surface. Jihyun nervously comments on the beautiful view from the top, but an awkward silence immediately falls between them. Wuju worries she is not enjoying the ride, thinking she is still upset about the roller coaster incident. He struggles to find the right words to apologize, while Jihyun remains quiet, lost in her own thoughts. Her heart pounds, feeling like it is about to explode. Rabin's words echo in her mind, urging her to confess. Taking a deep, shaky breath, she steels her nerves, her hands clenching into tight fists in her lap. Finally, she looks up with a new sense of resolve and calls out his name, ready to say everything. Wuju turns, caught off guard by her sudden shift. With a blush, she begins her long-awaited confession, and his eyes widen in complete astonishment. In the Ferris wheel car, Jihyun and Wuju share a quiet moment, as the sun sets beautifully over the amusement park. Soon after, they exit the ride together, sparking disbelief from the braided girl watching them. Jihyun is absolutely glowing with happiness beside him. Their awkward yet happy expressions raise questions. This braided girl panics, wondering if Jihyun actually confessed, while a hopeful Rabin desperately asks if her plan worked. Both friends watch the couple walk away, completely confused, when a sudden jolt from the ride throws them off balance. Rabin reels back, stunned by the sudden malfunction, and the two look up in alarm at the strange noise. Her friend stammers, trying to ask about the ride, as balloons are seen tangled in the Ferris wheel's machinery. This entire structure suddenly begins to spin in reverse. Rabin's confusion turns to utter shock. Meanwhile, two other friends decide to search for the group. But a sudden scream stops them in their tracks. High above, the Ferris wheel spins out of control. Without hesitation, they sprint toward the commotion, his face filled with alarm as he looks up. Screams echo from the ride as the braided girl panics, and Rabin is right there with her, crying out in terror. Down below, the others can only stare in disbelief at the chaos. This world inside the ride turns into a blur of darkness, revealing Rabin and the girl in overalls thrown around their cabin. Desperately, Rabin asks what is happening with the Ferris wheel, and her friend realizes it is spinning wildly backward. A violent lurch sends them tumbling against the glass, their panicked struggle turning into a chaotic, clumsy pile. Inside the spinning car, Rabin worries about everyone else, screaming for help as she questions if the ride is broken. Below them, an employee ignores her frantic waves, lost in his phone. Rabin wonders if the park is soundproofed, yelling for Hayagi to look outside. And from their cabin, the world below seems completely normal. She cannot understand why no one is noticing their crisis. Meanwhile, their friends rush to get help from an attendant, demanding to know what is happening with the out-of-control ride. His friend stops him, a horrifying realization dawning on her, because it is not just this one employee who is oblivious. This entire crowd is ignoring the unfolding disaster. She understands now they are all under a host's control. Elsewhere, a shadowy figure sits casually in a control room, their foot pressing down on a console button, accelerating the Ferris wheel to a terrifying speed. This boy panics, realizing an impossible power is at play, but he worries they cannot find their target in the crowd. High above, Rabin and Hayagi are thrown around their cabin, as Hayagi begs her to do anything to stop the ride. Down below, the dark-haired girl makes a grim decision, her eyes glowing as she threatens to clear the entire park. Her companion objects, insisting they must save their friends first. Taking his words to heart, she crouches into a ready stance and declares she will stop the Ferris wheel herself. A blast of purple energy erupts around her, launching her at incredible speed toward the structure. She collides with a cabin in a devastating kick. But the recoil sends her flying backward through the air. Landing hard on a roof, she is left dazed and defeated as the boy below tries to rally her spirits. A voice instructs the fallen girl to focus her divine power, and Wuju questions how to focus his own energy. His eyes suddenly flare with a brilliant green light. This girl on the ground realizes she can now see his power. Then she notices her own aura flaring to life as well. It is explained her power has grown, letting her sense others. Demanding that Wuju share his overflowing energy with her, he kneels beside her, completely unsure how to do it, but the mysterious voice reminds him he has seen the method before. This cloud creature insists he use the biggest open entrance. A sudden memory of a kiss flashes through his mind, and he looks down at the girl, both of them blushing intensely. She stammers his name as he reaches for her face, this memory showing a different couple sharing a powerful kiss. Transferring a brilliant orb of pure energy between them, suddenly a brilliant pink aura flares to life, revealing Hayagi in her newly awakened form. A surge of power courses through her, feeling incredible. This horned girl struggles with the machinery, demanding help. With a smirk, she agrees to help, but only this once, and together they channel their energy into the structure, both screaming with the immense strain of their effort. They pour all their strength into stopping the massive wheel, its chaotic spinning slowly grinding to a halt. Finally, the massive structure comes to a complete stop. Exhausted from the effort, the two girls collapse onto the platform, catching their breath after the incredible display of power. Hayagi smirks, calling out to the others below. Down below, a boy senses a divine power from one of the cabins, wondering if the host is trapped inside that very car. His suspicions are confirmed, the host is definitely on the ride, and the boy approaches the specific cabin with his companion. With a sudden creak, the door swings open on its own. As they brace themselves for what is inside, a girl with an ominous orange aura steps out from the darkness. Hayagi instantly recognizes the enemy, shouting in defiance. This host just smirks, a sinister grin spreading across her face. Nearby, Rabin and the horned girl stare in disbelief at this new threat, while another friend notices her distinct orange hair from afar. Suddenly, the blonde girl grabs her companion's attention, pointing something out, because the entire park around them is eerily empty. Every single person has vanished without a trace. Even the other passengers on the Ferris wheel are gone. Wuju looks out over the deserted amusement park in shock, as a cat-eared girl reports that everyone in a 100-meter radius just disappeared. With the Ferris wheel now still, the group reunites below, this cat-eared girl realizing the culprit wields immense divine power, while high above, the tailed girl watches them from a rooftop, identifying her target in an orb of energy as the judge. She smirks, impressed by his unexpected capabilities. Down below, the boy asks Nenah if a host could possess such strength, comparing the power level to a divine being's descent, realizing they have lost their target for now. A nervous hand suddenly tugs at Wuju's leg, and Jihyun suggests they enjoy the park a little longer. Admitting it is her first time here, she feels sad to leave, which catches Wuju completely by surprise. He smiles, agreeing that what matters is everyone is safe. When another friend suggests more rides, Rabin and Hayagi recoil in terror, so Rabin quickly suggests taking a sticker photo instead. Jihyun glances back at Wuju, a bit surprised. She then offers him a radiant, happy smile. While their friends cram into a photo booth, arguing for space, they all squeeze together for a chaotic group picture. But when it is time to choose, Wuju declines to pick one. Two of the girls debate over which photos to keep, and Hayagi falls silent, a thoughtful look on her face. Later, the sun sets as their train moves through the city. This whole group sits exhausted from their long day, and Hayagi notices Jihyun's blissful, blushing expression. Hesitantly, she asks her what happened, specifically wanting to know about Wuju. Jihyun plays it cool, simply saying, "Ah, that." With a confident smile, she says she no longer needs help. Her words leave Hayagi completely stunned and heartbroken. Rabin clutches her bag, fearing the worst outcome. With a strange smile, Jihyun admits he turned her down. Her friend can only stare, completely bewildered by this. This scene flashes back to the Ferris wheel cabin, where Jihyun had vowed to protect him by any means necessary. Wuju was left speechless by her fierce declaration, as she began listing off his personal habits, revealing everything from his favorite food to his childhood underwear. He stammers, shocked at how much she knows about him, and she flushes, realizing she has gone way too far, finally just blurting out that she likes him. Her face is a mask of determination and embarrassment, while he tries to gently let her down, fumbling his words. She cuts him off, clarifying she likes him romantically. A confession that leaves him utterly stunned. She asks if he truly understands her romantic feelings, desperately waiting for his answer high above the park. He admits this is new to him but promises a sincere reply. With a bow, Wuju apologizes, stunning her completely, and suggests they just be friends for now. He confesses her bravery makes him want to know her better, asking if that would be too difficult for her to accept. His face flushes, clearly flustered by the entire situation. A soft smile spreads across Jihyun's face, and she tearfully accepts, saying his answer is just like him. Back on the train, Hayagi checks on her friend, who is just staring fondly at their group photo. Jihyun suddenly stands, announcing she is getting off here, waving a cheerful goodbye to a surprised Wuju. This train doors close, leaving her alone on the platform. Jihyun looks at the photo, a soft smile on her face, cherishing the picture she took with Wuju, and decides this memory is more than enough for her. Back on the Ferris wheel, her headband lies forgotten in the empty cabin, while across the city under the night sky, another group laments their difficult day, blaming the divine host. This cat-eared girl suddenly realizes the implications, grabbing her companion in frustration for letting the host escape. As their blonde friend watches the argument unfold, a look of concern crosses the blonde girl's face. Before her eyes widen with a sudden idea, she reminds them that Wuju can now see divine power. So the cat-eared girl suggests they test his new ability immediately, pointing toward a lone woman walking down the street. This woman turns and the boy recognizes her as Woohee. A blonde woman greets Wuju as he gets home late. Her gaze is sharp and unreadable as she listens to his story. Then she excitedly suggests they all go to the park together next time. A brilliant reflection of her smile fills Wuju's eye, and she notices him staring, calling out his name softly. Stuttering, he agrees to her plan before she waves goodbye, leaving him to watch her disappear down the dark street. His friends suddenly appear, asking if he saw anything unusual, reminding him that divine hosts have a connection to the judge. A flashback reveals she is his childhood friend, a powerful link, prompting the cat-eared girl to ask about more recent connections. Wuju can only come up with the school's lunch lady, a terrible answer that leaves him wide-eyed and flustered. His friend checks his phone, asking about his contacts instead, and he suddenly recalls a girl he met playing an online RPG. A flashback begins as he finds a contact named Kakyo. It all started during a lonely winter break when he escaped into an MMORPG called Zodiac Chaser. This first guild he joined was mostly guys, until a player named Kakyo suddenly logged in. Her angelic avatar was the only female in their group, and her easygoing personality made her an instant favorite. As a low-level newbie, he kept his distance from her, but that changed after he revealed he was a high schooler. A private message suddenly appears on his screen. It is from Kakyo, catching him completely by surprise. She reveals she is also starting high school just like him, which confuses him given her past boasts about adult life. Then she admits she has something to confess. This vice guild leader has been harassing her relentlessly. Through their online chats, Wuju and Kakyo grew closer, and soon they moved to voice calls for the very first time. She shared secrets with him she could not tell anyone else, leaving Wuju completely captivated by her voice. His world seemed to stop with every word she spoke, and their conversations would last all through the night. As time passed, their bond deepened even more. With him checking for her messages first thing in the morning, one day she texts about nearly being late for high school, marking the start of a new chapter for them both. But for Wuju, high school brought only misery and bullying, crushing the confidence he once had, and he eventually stopped logging into the game entirely, breaking his promise to meet Kakyo in the real world. Back in the present, the cat-eared girl processes the story. He admits his online friend is the closest connection he has, so the cat-eared girl demands he call her out immediately, but Wuju protests, revealing they have never met in person, and his blonde friend points out Kakyo is currently online, leaving him to stare at his phone, unsure of what to say. In that instant, her status suddenly switches to offline, as the scene shifts to a PC bang late at night. Inside, a guild gathers for a lively offline meeting over food. With one member guessing the high turnout is because Kakyo is coming, while upstairs in the gaming section of the same building, this guild members are deep in a rage, shouting commands at each other, when a bowl of ramen is delivered to a player who yelps at the heat. This server is a girl in a cap with striking two-toned hair looking unbothered, and the intimidated player quickly stammers out a thank you, while others watch her walk away, captivated by the new part-timer. Wuju and his friends enter a PC cafe, greeted by the clerk, whose eyes widen in sudden recognition. This group complains about the smell, but Wuju insists they need to log in, worrying his account was deleted from inactivity. He finds relief that he can still access the game, but there is a problem. This guild member list is almost completely empty. Inside the game, an old friend greets his avatar, explaining that most of the guild is at an offline meeting. This news stuns Wuju. Kakyo is at that meeting right now. Meanwhile, at a chicken restaurant, the guild meetup is underway, where a blonde girl, Kakyo, is offered a piece of chicken. She playfully calls the gesture an act of pure love, which sends the other guild members into a frenzy. Suddenly, they all offer her their own drumsticks, leaving her at the center of their undivided attention. A can cracks open at the guild's offline meeting, where Kakyo sips her drink, charming the other members. This guys whisper amongst themselves, captivated by her act. After finishing the chicken, she seems a bit bored, prompting one member to quickly offer to buy more food. Others immediately join in, promising rare in-game items, and Kakyo plays along perfectly, thanking them with a wink. This whole group erupts in cheers, completely smitten. Someone then suggests they all go to an after-party. She mentions her curfew, but they relentlessly pressure her to stay. even proposing they get a private room together. Her smile finally falters as she asks them to stop. From the end of the table, a man with glasses watches, before telling the others not to push her just because they are guildmates. With a firm voice, he declares the night is over. Kakyo seems flustered by the guild master's mature demeanor, and as the group disperses for the night, she pulls him aside to thank him for his help. Explaining her gratitude for him shutting down the after-party, a flashback showing the vice guild leader's unwanted attention. She is especially relieved that Man was not invited, prompting the guild master to ask how she is getting home. He offers to share his cab with her, which leaves Kakyo absolutely thrilled, but her excitement suddenly vanishes as she spots her bus and quickly runs off, slumping against the bus stop in total exhaustion. Her phone hits midnight as she laments a troublesome ability. Then she boards the late-night bus home, tapping her card, which registers her as a teenager. On a bus home, a guild member texts Kakyo about the meeting, who reads the message with a silent, unreadable expression. This girl on the bus remembers her own edited photos, recalling the poses she struck to create a certain image. She lets out a sigh of relief, having made it through the night. Night falls over a quiet residential neighborhood, and the girl finally arrives home, heading straight to her room, where she collapses, thrilled about her first ever guild meeting. A blush spreads across her face, remembering she saw the guild master. Sitting at her desk, she snaps a quick selfie, then examines the picture she just took, feeling disappointed that she still looks like a little kid. A flashback reveals she gamed to earn money, wishing to grow up fast, thinking a real job would be a better use of her time, when suddenly a brilliant flash of light appears outside her window. A young girl walks home alone, yawning after a long day, when the clock suddenly strikes high noon. In a flash, she transforms into an adult woman, revealing a strange power that only activates in the afternoon. Elsewhere, the real Kakyo sighs, planning to skip school to game, but a sudden notification catches her completely off guard. It is a message from Animalmaster, a name from her distant past. His bizarre question about her body leaves her utterly speechless, making her wonder if his account was hacked after so long. Shaking it off, she remembers the guild meeting was not all bad. Just as the sub-guild master starts complaining in the chat, his aggressive messages about her appearance immediately unsettling her. This guild master quickly steps in, shutting the conversation down. He apologizes for the incident, suggesting they update the guild rules, then shocks her by asking to discuss it all offline. In a flashback, he types an apology to Kakyo, offering to meet up if she is comfortable with it. She excitedly agrees, wondering if it is a date, and thrashes in her room, too thrilled to sleep. This next day at school marks their planned meeting, where she rushes to get an early leave pass from the nurse. Back in the present, Wuju explains his new site. While a familiar-looking girl peeks from the hallway, a teacher mentions a student who often leaves early, and just then that same girl appears at the door. Wuju comes face to face with his online friend, their eyes locking in a moment of stunned recognition. He calls out her name, but she frantically denies it, trying to flee until he shouts his own in-game name. She freezes, shocked to finally meet the real Wuju. In a sudden panic, she asks for the time, then tries to bolt down the empty school hallway. Wuju watches, completely bewildered by her sudden flight. When a flash of light transforms her into her adult form, he stands frozen, staring at the impossible sight before him, and they both let out a scream of pure shock. Her mind races, terrified of being seen like this again, flashing back to a time she transformed in public. Onlookers had stared, whispering about her appearance, forcing her to run away in total humiliation. Back in the present, she is paralyzed with fear, until Wuju quickly drapes his jacket over her shoulders. She is baffled that he is not surprised by her transformation, her gaze shifting towards him in utter confusion. That is when she notices a glowing tattoo on his chest. Wuju stammers out her real name, Ari, instead of Kakyo. He pins her against the wall as her phone buzzes insistently, but she glances at the time, panicking about her upcoming meeting. Her sudden distress leaves Wuju completely stunned, his confusion growing as she prepares to make a run for it. Without warning, she grabs him and sprints down the hall, ditching him moments later and taking his jacket with her. She disappears into the women's restroom to hide, relieved she was not caught mid-transformation at school. Inside a stall, she quickly changes out of her uniform, emerging in her adult form, ready for her meeting. Her destination is a bright pink makeup shop downtown, a place that seems to hold memories of her younger self. Now she happily tries on lipstick, dismissing the school incident, her reflection showing a new, confident resolve. Kakyo smiles, feeling her plan is perfect, as the guild master waits patiently by his car. Her voice calls out his name, catching his attention, and she waves cheerfully while crossing the street. She greets him with a compliment, trying to be charming, then nervously asks if he thinks she looks pretty. He mentions the bus, but she is completely confused until he pulls out a key fob with a click. This car's headlights flash as he tells her to get in. Kakyo is stunned, realizing he has his own car, and getting inside, she is impressed by how nice it is. He leans over, his proximity startling her as he reaches for the seatbelt, making her heart pound like she is in a drama. With a calm demeanor, he asks if she is ready to leave, and the two of them drive off into the city. This guild master drives them through the city for their meeting, and Kakyo is absolutely thrilled about her first drive date. He pulls up to a fancy-looking restaurant where she hesitantly chooses a simple pasta dish, but before she can order, he calls over the waiter, surprising her by ordering the expensive couple's set. She tries to protest, feeling it is too much, but he gently insists it is his treat to cheer her up. His kindness after the incident with the sub-guild master leaves her speechless, and she happily agrees to enjoy the meal. A short while later, her plate is completely clean, and as they leave, he teases her about her healthy appetite, which makes her blush, caught off guard by his charm. On their walk, she stops to admire some jewelry in a shop window, prompting him to suggest they go inside for a better look. She points out a necklace she really likes, and the guild master immediately puts it on her neck, leaving her stunned by the expensive price tag. This cost reminds her of hours of in-game grinding, her confusion growing as he acts so casually. Then he reveals he has already paid for the necklace, which sends her into a panic over the cost. He simply tells her it is fine, insisting it is a gift he wanted her to have. Overwhelmed by his gesture, she promises to treasure it, and their date continues out in the bright city afternoon, where Kakyo clutches the new necklace feeling special, thanking him for the wonderful day they have had. But the guildmaster has one more thing in mind, sparking her curiosity about his next plan. This guildmaster leads her to a bar, much to her surprise. Inside, he suggests a drink, though she admits she cannot handle alcohol. To ease her worries, he recommends a sweet, low-alcohol highball. Trusting her adult form, she takes a hesitant sip. This drink tastes just like soda, much to her delight, and he watches with a smile, offering to pay for everything. One drink quickly turns into many, but soon the world starts to spin. Completely intoxicated, she leans against him, losing track of the night. He whispers in her ear, asking if his little Kakyo is getting sleepy. As dusk falls, they stumble out into a street lined with motels. Dazed, she tries to point the way to the station. Claiming he is tired, he suggests they rest before going home, but he has a comfier place in mind, one that also has a computer. Her next moment of awareness is a blur of pain and confusion. Kakyo wakes up in a daze, realizing how late it is, and sees she is in the guild master's room after falling asleep. A sudden shock hits her as she looks around, finding him still at his computer in the dark. He claims he was just gaming while she slept, but she notices something strange on his screen. He is logged into the sub-guild master's account too. A wave of fear washes over her as she tries to leave, but her nervous excuse is met with a cold question. Without warning, he grabs her arm, stopping her escape. He throws her onto the bed, demanding repayment for their date, her mind screaming for her to run away, but she is completely paralyzed by his grip. His true, predatory nature is finally revealed, leaving her trapped and pleading for someone to save her. A man demands something in return for what was taken from him. Suddenly, a woman screams as the clock strikes midnight, and in a flash of light, they are together in a hotel room. This man wakes up completely disoriented, his eyes widening in total confusion. He looks down to find a young girl in his bed who desperately cries out for help. Just then, a loud knock echoes from the door. He panics, realizing how bad the situation looks. As a neighbor outside accuses him of being with a high schooler, she insists she saw everything, ignoring his denials. And as he threatens to call the police, the girl screams again. This neighbor is suddenly told to move aside just as the door bursts open with a crash. A woman in a pink hoodie grabs the neighbor, calling the man trash. This guild master panics, confused by her sudden transformation, when the student from school bursts in, shouting his innocence. He stares at Kakyo, horrified she looks even younger than he imagined. With a cold fury, he storms into the room, his friends right behind, grabbing the predator by his robe without a word. Wuju lifts the man into the air with surprising strength, demanding an explanation while Kakyo watches in terror. This woman in pink urges her to speak up and explain the situation, but Wuju's eyes glow with power as he winds up a punch, sending the guild master flying across the room with a single blow. On the floor, the man calls him a beast, his glasses shattered, as Wuju looms over him, asking what he tried to do to Kakyo. Terrified, the guild master can only tremble in fear, making a desperate escape attempt through the window, only to fall several stories to the street below. This neighbor flees, but the woman in pink has other priorities. Her attention turns to Kakyo, who is terrified under the covers. Overwhelmed by fear, Kakyo can only cry in distress, while the neighbor returns to comfort the distraught girl. Outside, the neighbor learns on the phone that the investigation is over, furious that he is being let go for lack of evidence despite witnesses. Later, the boy sits with Kakyo in her room in awkward silence, and she finally asks how he managed to find her. He explains his phone was in the jacket she took, a lucky break, which prompts her to reveal what she heard from other guild members, explaining the guild master had been targeting her for a long time. This entire scheme involved a fake sub-guild master account just to set the trap, a revelation that leaves her disgusted by his manipulative plan. She snaps at the boy, insisting none of this was lucky, admitting she truly believed he cared, but it was all just an act. Kakyo believes he was disgusted by her true form, convinced he only cared about her adult appearance. Overwhelmed with shame, she calls herself pathetic, her sobs filling the quiet room beside him, but he quietly disagrees with her self-pity, leaving her completely stunned by his words. He admits they have never met outside the game, yet her real self is just as he imagined. Confused, she asks how he could possibly know, and he looks at her with genuine kindness. He calls her cute and charming, making her blush, and she shyly asks what party means. He recalls how she'd cheer for his in-game achievements or how she helped him through difficult dungeons. Playfully, she teases him for sounding like a gamer. This boy, Wuju, looks completely stunned, as a girl tells him he is exactly as she pictured. Her compliment makes him blush uncontrollably. She then admits she pictured him as more of a nerd. imagining a stereotypical gamer with an angelic partner. Now the two of them sit together in awkward silence, until he gently calls out Kakyo's name. He suddenly pushes her down, making her panic, but he explains it is to help control her divine power. Asking for her trust, he leaves her uncertain. A moment of closeness passes between them, and he holds her in a warm embrace as light glows. She feels a comforting warmth wash over her. Outside a PC bang, a light streaks across the night sky. Just as the guild master storms out, furious about his game. Back at the PC bang, the guild master explains he just escaped the police, revealing he was let off with a warning for lack of evidence. Now broke, he asks to borrow money after losing his things. An invitation to the smoking area is quickly turned down, his frustration growing as a woman in a cap stands beside him. A new idea forms as his eyes lock onto her. Watching her leave, he decides she might be his next target, and without hesitation, he gets up to follow her down the hall. He trails her into a dimly lit corridor, as the door clicks shut behind them, trapping them both inside the bathroom. Meanwhile, another gamer wonders why he is taking so long. Suddenly, a muffled sound comes from behind the closed door, where he begs for his life from a shadowy assailant with glowing eyes. This woman he followed brutally attacks him, revealing her true intent. In a public restroom, a man lies defeated on the floor, his opponent placing a pack of cigarettes on his chest. This victor smirking with satisfaction at her work. Meanwhile, a game notification announces the chicken has joined a tournament, just as a tiny creature pops out between Wuju and Kakyo. This creature reveals it is the Zodiac spirit of the chicken, the source of her power. Kakyo, however, looks completely unimpressed, calling the spirit a sick chicken which blames its state on a hangover. An argument breaks out over who is to blame for the earlier incident. But Wuju's eyes glow as he confirms her divine power is real. Excited, she asks how to control it, getting cryptic instructions. She attempts to follow them, striking a pose to activate her abilities, and a brilliant flash of light erupts, stunning Wuju. This light fades, revealing someone new has arrived, calling him a loser. It is the woman in pink and her friends, demanding to know if he has found a new host. Elsewhere, a young woman's eyes widen in shock, while another person is caught completely off guard, her face frozen in a moment of terror. A scream echoes from a nearby building. Later, Kakyo finishes explaining her ordeal to the group, who debate the ethics of using their powers, and a friend lectures her about taking better care of herself. Humbled, Kakyo promises to never be so reckless again. This conversation then turns to a more urgent matter, as the girl in pink suddenly springs into action. She announces they have successfully gathered 5 hosts, a glowing symbol confirming they are on schedule, but one of them is not so sure about their success, bringing up the powerful entity they met at the amusement park, a spirit that left them with an unsettling feeling of dread. With exams approaching, their school life gets complicated, as their mission is to find all the Zodiac hosts, and any strange event could be a clue to their location. One of them excitedly compares their mission to a game quest, which gives the school nurse a brilliant idea to form a club. This others are completely stunned by her suggestion, but she explains it would provide the perfect cover for their activities, leaving them struggling to come up with a suitable name. One girl suggests a photography club, hoping for photos of Wuju, while another pitches the idea of a gaming club with tournaments. A third person hesitantly raises their hand, proposing a fairy tale research club instead. Her friends immediately shoot down the idea as lame, leaving her completely embarrassed by their teasing, but she explains that its obscurity is the perfect disguise for their secret mission. This school nurse gives her enthusiastic approval for the club, and Wuju chimes in, liking the fairy tale idea as well, but the girl in pink suddenly objects, feeling left out. Her outburst leaves the rest of the group completely baffled. Even the nurse and the club's proposer look on in silence, as she complains about being the only one not attending their school. Frustrated, she transforms into a cat and tries to storm out, but she is quickly caught before she can escape, and Wuju offers her the role of club mascot. Later, at their school, the new club begins to take shape. They finish cleaning out an old classroom for their headquarters, admiring their hard work with a sense of accomplishment. This once messy room is now neatly organized, looking more like a proper club room than a storage space. One member gets sentimental, but the girl in pink quickly teases him for it. This group faces a tight deadline, 2 months to find 7 hosts, so Wuju rallies them, determined to succeed together. With renewed spirit, the entire team cheers for their mission. Later, at school, a teacher heads toward classroom 32, stepping inside to begin the day's lesson. He calls for the students' attention with an announcement, revealing a rare event for seniors, a new transfer student. This class murmurs with curiosity about the newcomer. As a silver-haired boy smirks at the front of the room, he confidently picks up a piece of chalk, beginning to write strange characters on the board. His classmates whisper, unable to read the writing, and after finishing, he casually drops the chalk. Mysterious symbols now cover the chalkboard. As the new student introduces himself as Chin-Iji, a smug student gives a knowing smile. Down the empty school hallway, footsteps echo, as a blonde girl peeks into a classroom. Inside the vacant room, she takes a deep breath, slapping her cheeks to psych herself up for the day. Bursting into another room, she greets her teacher loudly, where the girl, Rabin, is immediately given tasks for the class. With a bright smile, she happily agrees to help out, then calls for the class meeting to begin. Taking charge, she quiets her classmates to review the agenda, while the school bell rings across the grounds. Later, Rabin slumps in her chair, completely exhausted from her duties. Her friends rush over with some exciting gossip, asking for her opinion on a long-time friendship turning romantic. But she realizes the problem is being stuck as just friends for too long. A group of girls corners their blonde friend, questioning her about a boy she knows. They are excited she has a childhood friend, a senpai, and she confirms they are talking about Wuju, but she insists she has never seen him romantically, while her friends tease that he is a good match for her. Blushing, she admits their long history makes it complicated. One friend agrees, wondering when that line is crossed. She admits she does not know how it happens, but describes a jealousy she feels for her own friend, a realization that her friends immediately call true love. Confused by these new feelings, she turns to the blonde girl for advice, but she quickly denies any romantic interest in Wuju. Her friends press closer, asking what it would take. What kind of trigger could finally make her see him as a man? Flustered by the question, Rabin admits she is not sure, her mind racing with the thought of Wuju as a man. With a bright smile, she evades their prying questions, but their gossip is cut short by an arriving teacher. Her friends walk away, leaving Rabin alone with her thoughts. A sudden, strange feeling washes over her. As she sits alone, a tightness growing in her chest, clutching her uniform in utter confusion. Meanwhile, at the clubroom, Wuju and another member arrive, greeted enthusiastically by a girl already inside. This girl in pink seems annoyed by the welcome, while the girl with glasses begins to explain. Apparently, other students fawned over their club mascot all day, leaving the cat form secretly infuriated by the attention. This furious mascot then attacks Wuju, blaming him for being late. Wuju calls out to a distracted Rabin, the cat mascot clinging to him. She remains silent, her expression downcast and troubled. He steps closer, asking if something is wrong, startling her, while her friends watch the tense interaction with concern, but Rabin quickly dismisses it as fatigue as the school nurse arrives. Later, the new club officially begins its mission under the bright sun, their cover established as the traditional fairy tale research club. This nurse explains this is the story she sold to the vice principal, then reveals a master key to the entire school, giving them access to search for hosts anywhere, anytime. This cat mascot immediately asks for leads on strange rumors, but with exams looming, no one has heard a thing. One girl scoffs, calling them all out of the loop, revealing she has compiled a list of unusual incidents from online forums. Her friend praises Ari for her work, teasing that she is just avoiding her studies. This club's proposer announces she has found their first case, a mysterious duel challenge that is perfect for them. Every night at midnight, a secret match takes place on the school field, and the competition is revealed to be a running race. This leads them to speculate the host is the Zodiac horse. And their cat mascot cheers, excited to narrow down the search. But Rabin looks concerned, questioning if they are really staying out so late. While the mascot insists they must investigate tonight, she nervously asks if the entire group is going together, as another member squeals with delight at the idea. Outside the classroom, the new student Shinichi pauses, listening in. This girls debate getting permission, hoping the nurse's supervision is enough. And a friend teases Rabin for being afraid of ghosts. A knowing smirk spreads across Shinichi's face. He then walks away down the empty school corridor. This school track lies empty under the evening lights, as a lone girl in sportswear walks into view. While the club members watch from a hidden doorway, guessing her identity, they realize she is just the challenger, not their true target, and Wuju and his friends wait with bated breath. This clock ticks closer to midnight, setting the stage. When suddenly Wuju feels a powerful presence, an incredible surge of divine energy washes over him, and a dark aura crackles around a new arrival's feet, revealing the seventh host, the Zodiac spirit of the horse. On the quiet school grounds, the confrontation is about to begin, and the horse spirit faces her challenger, asking if she knows the rules. This girl confirms it is a best-of-5 running competition, but the spirit wants to set the stakes for their match, issuing a chilling ultimatum: if she wins, her opponent will not run again. This challenger realizes the spirit is behind her club's strange behavior, boldly setting her own counter-conditions for the race, demanding the spirit remove the curse and return her friends to normal, vowing the spirit will beg for forgiveness on her knees. Far below on the track, the two opponents stand ready, while the club members strain to hear the terms from their hiding spot. Ari explains the chilling stakes of the match to the others, as their cat mascot calls the power broken, urging them to watch. This weight of that consequence settles over the group. A friend turns to the nurse, asking if she knows the challenger, who is quickly identified as Sanga, the track team's runner-up. This school nurse confirms she is a national medalist on scholarship, as the competitors agree to a 3-race format for the duel. But Sanga smirks, seeing the spirit's overconfidence as a weakness. She then sets a 10-second timer, ready to begin. At the starting line, the horse spirit scoffs at her opponent's ignorance, but the challenger crouches, her expression grim and focused. She recalls placing second in the prelims this year, remembering she was the fastest at last year's youth nationals. In a flash, the horse spirit explodes from the starting line, leaving the challenger in stunned disbelief. Her opponent moves with inhuman speed, creating an impossible gap in mere seconds. This second race ends in a decisive blur, with the spirit now needing only 2 more wins. Watching from hiding, Wuju cannot believe what he just saw, as his friend confirms this is the power of the horse Zodiac. Another race begins, but the outcome is brutally the same, and the challenger collapses, defeated even in her specialty race. Now the horse spirit needs just 1 more win to seal her fate. This challenger realizes she is facing a sprinter, vowing to win the long race, While the club despairs, wondering how to catch someone so fast, a new plan forms ambush her at the final finish line, and Wuju agrees, knowing only the final crossing matters. On the track, the two runners take their starting positions, a confident smirk crossing the challenger's face. She bursts forward on a false start, trying to gain an advantage. From the sidelines, Wuju watches the trick unfold. A phone timer reveals the deception, set for only 5 seconds, but the girl justifies her cheat, deciding this makes things even. This horse spirit, however, remains at the starting line waiting, her focus absolute as the true countdown begins. At 10 seconds, she explodes from her stance with blinding speed, stunning the challenger as she closes the gap instantly. This distance between them vanishes in a flash on the empty track. Wuju gives the signal to attack. This club members leap into the race, surrounding the horse spirit. While the challenger's eyes are locked on the finish line, she sprints forward, unaware of the divine power swirling around her, shocking Rabin and her friends with her incredible speed. As her feet pound the track, the race begins in earnest. Yet the horse spirit calmly declares the outcome is already set, her sinister restriction having already been activated. Suddenly, the challenger screams, her legs burning from an unseen force, as glowing purple chains materialize around her thighs. In horror, Wuju understands the terrible price of the duel, leaving the victorious horse spirit alone on the dark track. Later in the nurse's office, the challenger is questioned about her legs, revealing a strange, chain-like mark left on her thigh, and she explains it burns with intense pain whenever she tries to run. This club questions the spirit's strange obsession with running. As Senga explains, she only went to nationals because the ace runner quit, recalling a chilling urban legend about a ghost challenge. A black note would appear, followed by a cursed chain tattoo, and losing the race meant you could never run again. This was the rumored fate of their school's former #1 runner, leaving Senga terrified as she recounts the story. She then reveals she received one of those cursed notes herself. And Wuju stares, understanding the gravity of her situation. Back in the club room, the team reconsiders their target. Realizing the black notes and chains do not fit the horse spirit's style, Wuju turns to their cat mascot, asking if she knows anything. But another member points out Nenah should already know the Zodiac race winner. Flustered, the mascot grabs Wuju, demanding he tell her instead. Until a sudden realization hits her human form, the winner was the rat. This cat mascot suddenly remembers a crucial, overlooked detail, identifying the strange power as the Zodiac rat's geese. He frantically explains this new threat to the confused club members. Turning to another victim, he asks about hearing voices in her head, and the girl's hesitation confirms his worst fears. She admits a mysterious black note compelled her to act, sparking an irresistible curiosity she could not possibly ignore. A friend realizes the challengers are not willing participants at all, leading Ari to suspect it is some form of mind control, but the mascot reveals it is an ability far more sinister. When Wuju asks for details, the cat cannot fully remember, describing it as a solemn, unbreakable pact between two parties. They deduce the black note must be the contract's trigger, forcing anyone who reads it into an inescapable duel. Wuju presses the victim Nenah for any other memories. Back in the nurse's office, Rabin panics, unable to recall anything about the rat. This cat mascot tells Wuju this is not simple memory loss, explaining it feels like that part of her memory was violently cut out. Ari connects this to the theme park incident, realizing something bigger is happening. Wuju looks on worriedly, calling the cat by her name Nenah. This other club members stand by, a heavy silence falling over them, and even the nurse seems troubled by this new revelation. Taking charge, she advises the group to focus on what is right in front of them. One member agrees, suggesting catching the horse could lead them to the rat, but Rabin points out a problem: the spirit ignores them outside the races. Ari confirms the difficulty, knowing they cannot act if the spirit will not acknowledge them. A sudden realization hits Wuju. He slams his hands on the table, vowing to make the spirit acknowledge them. His friends stare back, confused by his sudden declaration. As one of them asks how exactly they are supposed to do that, a stunned Rabin is told it is her time to shine, sending her to represent the Fairy Tale Club on a new mission. This track team's coach explains their top runners are out of commission, forcing them to hold new tryouts to fill the empty spots, and because they are short on members, he has requested special help, revealing their club has been called in to assist the team. A nervous Rabin introduces herself on the track, now in sportswear. Wondering how she got roped into this mess as a running partner, in a flashback, Wuju reveals their plan to bait the horse spirit, which requires one of them to become the team's #1 runner. This cat mascot reassures a panicked Rabin, reminding her she is not ordinary, and back in the present, her friends cheer from the sidelines. She takes her position, steeling herself for the race, then explodes from the starting line with a burst of speed, leading the pack with fierce determination in her eyes. With a gasp, Rabin pushes herself past her limits, blazing down the track with unbelievable speed. This coach is floored she just broke the national record, leaving the other runners to wonder where she came from. A blushing Rabin admits this is her first serious race. From the sidelines, her friends know this is her divine power, and Nenah nearly blurts out her identity as the rabbit Zodiac. Wuju quickly covers for her, praising Rabin's success. For the first time in a long while, Rabin feels truly happy, finally feeling like she has been genuinely helpful. Back in the club room, Wuju confirms the bait is set, but the team worries about the danger she is now in. He tells a nervous Rabin that their intel gives them an edge, revealing the plan is to set the conditions for the geese. while assigning backup roles to Ari and the teacher as insurance. Rabin still hesitates, filled with doubt about the plan, but Wuju grabs her hands, asking her to just trust them. A firm, reassuring grip meant to calm her fears, and for a moment she seems genuinely moved by his words. Then she suddenly punches him right in the gut, leaving Wuju stunned as she agrees to the mission. She warns him, however, that his plan better not fail, as the scene shifts to Sanga recounting her own terrifying experience. Leaving the rest of the club completely bewildered by her story, she nervously clutches her hands, thinking about Wuju's involvement, a faint blush appearing as she processes the situation. Later, as the sun sets over the school, Sanga cautiously enters an empty classroom drawn by an unseen force, her eyes widening in shock at what she finds inside. On a desk lies the black note, the trigger for the rat's geese. Sanga's friend notices her sudden unease. As a black note mysteriously appears on her desk, she opens it, her eyes widening in terror. It is a midnight duel with her spot at nationals on the line. From the sidelines, Wuju and Rabin watch the trap being set, and right on cue, the horse spirit descends onto the track. A dark, oppressive aura explodes from her body, but Sanga stands her ground, ready for the confrontation. She clenches her fist, her resolve hardening for the race. This spirit erupts in fury, accusing them of defiling a sacred match. Wuju is blasted back, realizing this is a whole new level of power. Nenah stares in disbelief, a terrible recognition dawning on her. This spirit's true form manifests before them, radiating immense energy. Ari tries to keep the team focused, but another member fears a fight is brewing, while the horse spirit coldly dismisses the very idea of a brawl. This horse spirit smirks, confirming the match will continue. Her confidence leaves Wuju completely stunned, as she admits their plan was impressive, calling out Rabin for the duel. With a cold glare, she vows their tricks are utterly useless. Watching from the sidelines, Wuju calls out Rabin's name in alarm, but she calmly tells him not to worry. On the track, the two rivals take their starting positions, and Rabin steels her nerves, determined to follow the plan. A digital timer begins its final countdown. This horse spirit's focus is unwavering. And as the timer hits 0, the race explodes into motion. In an instant, the spirit creates an impossible distance between them, while elsewhere a mysterious observer watches Nenah from a rooftop. This sound of frantic footsteps echoes through the school, and Nenah shouts a warning as their target arrives. Nenah launches a surprise kick at the newcomer. This white-haired girl's eyes widen in disbelief, sending her flying from the force of the blow. But in midair, she reaches for a small red flag, gripping it with sudden, desperate strength. This two clash above the rooftop as another girl watches, their gazes locked in a silent, tense standoff. With a firm landing, the girl plants her feet, then swings the flag in a swift counterattack. Nenah grunts, caught off guard by the sharp blow, this flag's staff pressing hard against her. A pink-haired bystander can only ask what is going on, while Nenah looks down, a strange expression on her face. Her eyes flash with a sudden, shocking realization, leaving the other girl paralyzed with absolute terror. Nenah flees across the rooftops, a voice screaming for Rabin to hurry. As a blonde-haired girl named Hayagi leaps into the air to intervene, she is ordered to throw a mysterious flag, a baffling command. A reflection in her eye reveals Nenah has already been caught, held captive by the dark-haired rooftop observer. This observer brutally slams Nenah's head into the ground, then immediately turns her attention to Hayagi with a powerful stomp. Her hand closes around the red flag Hayagi is holding, and she stands over her defeated opponent with a sinister grin. Hayagi stares back, completely paralyzed by fear. As the attacker flees, another ally arrives on the scene, but an injured Nenah insists the flag is the only priority. With tears in her eyes, Hayagi understands what she must do, taking the flag from her friend's weakened grasp. Then leaping into the night to continue the desperate mission. Rabin sprints along the school building, a pursuer close behind, sparking a look of utter shock on Wuju's face. Cursing, he abandons his post and starts running himself, desperate to intercept whatever is happening. Suddenly, the horse spirit appears right before him, stopping him cold. A sinister grin spreads across her face as she declares her victory, leaving Wuju on the ground, his flag now in her possession. In the distance, he sees Nenah being carried away by her friends, all of them looking dazed and completely drained of energy. Meanwhile, the horse spirit casually stretches, utterly unfazed by the chaos. Two other challengers stand defeated, their resolve broken. As the blonde runner apologizes, knowing they have failed, with a smirk, the spirit offers to skip to the final race, dismissing the remaining rounds as pathetic and pointless. An ox-horned ally confirms their fears. The flag strategy was a total failure. On the sidelines, Rabin and Nenah watch with growing concern, when a crucial memory suddenly hits Nenah with a jolt. She asks about their insurance plan, but Wuju says it is useless unless they win. This horse spirit mocks them from the track, telling them to just give up. But a divine energy begins to crackle around Rabin's legs. Her eyes narrow with a new, unshakable resolve. And she clenches her fist, ready to make her final stand. Turning abruptly, she calls out Wuju's name, grabbing his face and leaving him completely stunned. A deep blush spreads across her face as she struggles for words, finally blurting out a desperate plea for him to fight for her too. Wuju freezes, realizing the weight of her confession, while her gaze remains fixed, full of earnest emotion. In the middle of the track, she pulls him close. This world fading away in this charged, silent moment. Their faces are inches apart, lost in the charged silence. Wuju leans in, giving her a gentle kiss on the cheek, and a brilliant flash of energy explodes from them. This light fades, leaving him holding her hands completely flustered. His face burns red, overwhelmed by the sudden intimacy. As that single touch ignites a powerful reaction, a shockwave of light erupts across the entire school grounds. In the center of it all, Rabin's expression hardens, transforming into her true Zodiac form, the rabbit. Wuju can only stare, utterly speechless at the sight, while their allies realize this power is on a whole new level. A cat-eared observer smirks, recognizing the might of the fourth Zodiac, but our boy is completely captivated by her new appearance. He quickly shakes himself back to reality. This is not the time. He asks how she feels, her voice now echoing with newfound power. Filled with new strength, Rabin clenches her jacket. She thanks Wuju, now certain of her victory, and the horse spirit suddenly approaches, agreeing with her sentiment, proposing they settle everything in one final, fair race. Rabin's jaw tightens, accepting the sudden challenge. On the track, the two rivals prepare for the ultimate showdown. As Wuju explains the new rules, a race to a rooftop flag, Rabin listens intently, her expression grim. While he raises his hand to start the countdown, both competitors drop into their starting stances, their eyes locking with fierce, unwavering focus. At the signal, the race explodes into motion, and the horse spirit immediately pulls ahead with shocking speed. She taunts Rabin, asking if this is all she has, then blazes down the track, leaving her rival in the dust. As two racers plummet down the side of the school building, an ally realizes the horse spirit is unbeatable on a straight path. As the chase blurs through the school's interior, Rabin bolts up a staircase, pushing her speed to the absolute limit, her mind screaming that she cannot lose this race. With a final powerful step, she launches herself forward, now running vertically up the glass windows of the building itself. But the horse spirit floats effortlessly, using the momentum to her advantage. Fueling Rabin's desperate refusal to be defeated, they rocket down a hallway toward the exit. This spirit reaching for the door to claim her victory. Her hand closes in on the doorknob just inches away, when another hand suddenly grabs her wrist from behind. Rabin slams into her, stopping her cold just before the finish line, their eyes locking in a final, furious confrontation. With fierce resolve, Rabin declares she absolutely has to win, but the horse spirit smirks, remembering her own promise to Wuju. Suddenly, Rabin is sent flying backwards in utter shock, leaving Wuju watching from a distance, completely stunned. She hurtles through the air directly toward him as the horse spirit realizes she's been tricked. This true target sits on a rooftop under the full moon, and Rabin tackles an unseen opponent, knocking them senseless, sending them both plummeting as the horse spirit gives chase. A hand snatches the red flag from its stand, and the horse spirit triumphantly declares her victory. She looms over her fallen rival, mocking her defeat. Leaving Rabin staring up in utter disbelief, Wuju sprints forward, screaming Rabin's name in terror, but a firm hand suddenly grabs his shoulder, stopping him cold. This cat-eared ally pins a struggling Wuju to the ground, and he demands to know just who she is. Meanwhile, the horse spirit kicks an unknown boy aside, only to realize with dawning horror that she has lost. On the ground, she demands a rematch from the true victor, suddenly finding herself bound by crackling purple energy. As the real winner tells her to simply admit defeat, this horse spirit screams, struggling against her magical restraints, while the victor orders the cat-eared girl to bring Wuju forward. But the cat-eared ally looks down, admitting she cannot. A single tear rolls down her cheek as she hesitates, fueling the horse spirit's furious refusal to accept this outcome. She writhes on the rooftop, completely overwhelmed by the power, these chains of energy tightening around her entire body. Her agony echoing in a final, desperate scream. An ally warns Nenah that Wuju is pushing himself past his limits, screaming for him to stop as Nenah herself collapses in agony. A desperate cry rips from her throat, overwhelmed by the pain. Elsewhere, a panicked boy desperately calls out for the nurse, while Wuju resolves he must take matters into his own hands. A single tear falls as a girl whispers the name Jeonju, her expression filled with a deep, unspoken sorrow. When the quiet sound of a wheelchair breaks the silence, two girls pushing it stare forward with wide, startled eyes, revealing a third girl in the chair, all of them frozen in shock.